2025. I will start with an acknowledgement of country. Lithgow City Council acknowledges Wiradjuri elders past and present of the Wiradjuri Nation, the original custodians of the land on which the Lithgow communities reside. The Council also extends our respects to our neighbouring nations. Declaration of webcasting. I inform all those in attendance at this meeting that the meeting is being webcast and that those in attendance should refrain from making any defamatory statements concerning any person, councillor or employee, and refrain from discussing those matters subject to closed council proceedings as indicated in clause 14.1 of the Code of Meeting Practice. I acknowledge that all councillors are present. Do we have any declarations of interest? No? Okay, thank you. Moving forward, confirmation of minutes. We have confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held the 24th of March 2025. Do I have a mover?
Moved.
Councillor Ring. Is there a seconder? Councillor Goodwin. Is there any opposition? I declare that carried. Commemorations and announcements. I would like to mention that all the councillors, my understanding, attended the RSL's sub-branches Anzac Day ceremonies, and they should be congratulated for that. I would also like to note that the RSL sub-branches did an amazing job across the district, and I'd like to thank the council staff as well. The traffic plan put in place was great, and I'd also like to acknowledge the council staff in regards to the sound system at Queen Elizabeth Park. It was also really well done. I'd also like to acknowledge any residents that have passed away since we've last met here today, this weekend. Public forum. We'll move to public forum. The first person on the list for public forum is Jane Bain and Michael Fuzzer. If you could please come to the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Jane Bain. My husband and our family are residents of Lithgow. I'm a member of the Baptist Refugee Group, whose Secretary Barry Stevens, who's here this evening, as well as my husband. My email is janetespay@gmail.com. I would like to express my thanks to the Mayor of Lithgow for this opportunity to speak with you this evening on the subject of refugees, in particular to speak about 5 of my relatives by marriage who are refugees in a United Nations refugee camp in Wartor, Sudan. They're from the Tigray region of Ethiopia and have fled from a civil war there, all related to my husband Michael, like me being an Australian citizen, Solomon, his full brother, Froini and niece, who Michael and Solomon, along with his mother, raised, just a descendant of his older brother, who passed when Froini was an infant. Vibrato, a half-brother, Tedros, a cousin, and Kalab, a cousin. They have been on the waiting list for an Australian humanitarian visas for around 4 years, less for Kalab, about 3. We here in Australia who are sponsoring and supporting them have a certain extent suffered alongside them through the ages of modern electronics. We can look into our screens and see our relatives undergoing traumatic experiences caused by floods, heat waves, fire, food shortages, violence, hunger, and the Sudan civil war's impact on their lives. For example, my daughter, who's now 10 a few years ago, seen her cousin Froini being assaulted in real time on our device. We know of numerous times that our niece has been assaulted by bruises, cuts and abrasions. She's suffered a considerable weight loss and got sick from malnutrition. My husband's named relative refugees are a result of the civil war in Ethiopia, where provinces were persecuted by other Ethiopians because of their Tigray ethnicity. They were the meat in a particular sandwich which both pieces of bread had sharp spikes, so they had to flee from Tigray, and had additional danger was imposed of conscription for both genders. into the rebel army, girls as young as 12 have been deliberately trying to get pregnant in order to avoid conscription. In seeking refuge in Sudan, they found the civil war impacted in that country, which most affects them has been shortages of food and high level of violence. Women, when members of the TPLF were in the camp for a while because of fear, there was no staff in the camp, which relatives reside in the absence of staff induced near famine conditions. My husband's daughter and I recently visited Tigray province in order to assist ways. My husband's mother, although is blind, and I were looking after the toddler son of Solomon, who Solomon is in the camp of Sudan. The mother of Solomon's went missing in the Tigray war and was last reported to have gone insane.
Councillor Marley, you're moving an extension. Sorry, Jane, hang on. Councillor Frederick, second. If there's no opposition, that's carried. Continue.
Yeah. And was last reported to go insane. Michael's mother had recently had major open surgery, and we were there to assist recovery. Being in Ethiopia was dangerous. We needed to hire armed security guards to keep us safe, as there was talk of another war may outbreak at any moment. In the brief time I have left, I would like to highlight the ongoing of the waiting times determined by the Australian Department of Home Affairs, in which have health implications for our relatives in the camps and generate incredible worry for us. Their family members here in Lithgow, refugees from Gaza and Ukraine wars with Australian relatives were given priority visa service. The shortest waiting time was 24 hours. These were not humanitarian visas, but enabled the refugees to be quickly extracted from the war-torn lands and taken to a place of safety, Australia, where they could apply for humanitarian visas. It would be great if I and my husband, Australian citizen sponsors, could be given similar treatment, given the fact that we are in a position to offer accommodation to those relatives who we're sponsoring and can support them. Yes, that's what we're asking for, fairness. We commend this subject of fairness as it pertains to refugees and their Australian relatives to be conversations with others, especially if those politicians have connections with politicians. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person on my list is Graham Ford. If you could please come forward.
Hello, my name is Graham Ford. I live on Portland, Sunny Corner Road, Portland, and I would like to voice my objection to the proposed Sunny Corner wind farm. Samita Scoping report states that renewable energy opportunities are well suited to these pine plantations because they, 1, have existing roads and access to existing transmission infrastructure. Number 2, are located in windy areas. 3, are located away from residential areas, minimising impacts to communities. The proposed Sunny Corner wind farm is on top of residential areas and will impact local communities. We have taken the opportunity to have Samita visit our home and use the TrueView display system to show us the visual impact that the wind farm will have on our property. From inside our kitchen window, we will see 12 turbines. From our back gate, we will see 17 turbines. These turbines will be 285 metres high, with 4 flashing lights on each turbine. The closest turbine will be 1.8 kilometres from our home. We are only 1 kilometre from the CBD of Portland, so there will be a turbine 2.8 kilometres from Portland CBD. This is not away from residential areas or minimising impacts to communities. We are concerned about the potential health effects from the 285 metre turbines. They are designed to be used offshore, not in close proximity to residential communities. Hence, there have been no studies done on the effect of these 285 metre turbines have on human health. The studies that have been completed about the effects on human health from smaller turbines are ongoing. The possibilities of long-term health issues is a concern. People living near wind farms may experience a decrease in property values due to the perceived negative impact of the turbines on the area's aesthetic appeal and potential noise pollution. This is a significant concern for residents in Portland, Sunny Corner, Yethome and surrounding areas. I would like to invite the councillors to come and view the area of the planned wind farm from my house in Portland, Sunny Corner Road. Councillors need to be aware of the negative impact this wind farm will have on our community. We voted for you to represent us and hope to act in the best interests of the people. And I'd like to know, in conclusion, where does Lithgow Council stand as far as objecting to this project? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Mr. Rob White?
Good evening, councillors, and thanks for allowing me to speak to you again. My name is Rob White. I'm speaking on behalf of the concerned Lithgow Community Group Inc., and I'm here to speak in favour of the Mayoral Minute this evening. For the past 3 years, our group has been actively opposing a state significant project which subsequently got upgraded to critical state infrastructure. Through that journey, and right from the very beginning, we made it abundantly clear to us that we're a small group that was on an uphill battle fighting odds that were overwhelmingly in favour of a proponent. When the project was declared state significant, it was the New South Wales government that assumes full control of the program, issuing guidelines for things like community consultation and environmental impact statements. But that is where the problem is. These are guidelines. They're not enforceable undertakings. Proponents can, and often do, interpret these guidelines in ways that suit their own interests. The rules, the processes, and the lack of enforceable obligations all work to create an advantageous situation for large corporations that put projects forward in these situations. And I'm not just talking here about pumped hydro. I'm talking about wind farms, I'm talking about waste for energy, I'm talking about solar projects, batteries, or any other project that is involved in state infrastructure. So there's no independent body ensuring the guidelines are followed and in spirit rather than just ticking a box. Communities like ours who feel these guidelines are being manipulated or ignored have no formal avenue of redress to correct the imbalance. We are effectively sidelined in issues that are affecting our lives, our community, our council, and our future. The recommendation that is there is not about stopping projects. It's about creating fair process. It's about ensuring that community voices, whether they're for or against the project, are genuinely heard and considered. Like many of you, I read the social media posts that were concerned with the initial wording of this recommendation that was potentially weakening to the council's position. And I will congratulate the Mayor for being prepared to take that and listen to the community and make changes at the suggestions of community, such that a new recommendation came out altogether. I am totally satisfied that the revised recommendation cements council's role and accurately reflects what was the intent.
An extension needs to be called for. Councillor Marnie, did you, and yep. Councillor Fredericks, yep. Any opposition to that? That's carried. Continue, Mr. White.
So I'm content that the new amendment or the new recommendation reflects the intent of what was intended in the first place, and it has included community input that's come back to it. And it's for these reasons that I would encourage the councillors to support that Mayoral Minute, because it includes council, it includes community, and it includes the proponent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. We have Mr. Rich Evans, but my understanding he's sent in a statement. Is that right? Mr. Gurney, if you'd like to read that, please.
That's correct. So this is a public forum address from Rich Evans as an individual. I'd like to address the Notice of Motion 2.7 Lithgow rebrand in tonight's business paper. My apologies for not being able to do it in person. I thank the Mayor for having this read to the Chamber. Madam Mayor, councillors, staff and members of the gallery, I'd like to offer an opposing view to the one being put before you this evening by Councillor Evangelides. I want to speak really clearly here. This is not about hiding Lithgow. It's about building something bigger. It's about telling a better story, one that's not stuck in old labels or old fears. And I say that not just as a community member and business stakeholder, but as someone who's been working in branding and storytelling since the mid-1990s, first running my own creative agency for 15 years, and more recently through projects like the Foundations, the Central West Village Voice, and a number of initiatives I've consulted on across our region. I know from experience that a solid social media profile picture isn't a brand. A logo isn't a brand either. It's just one small piece of a much bigger strategy that needs time to breathe and reveal itself properly. It's way too early to be making calls like this. We owe it to the community to look at the full picture before we start pulling it apart. The brand isn't about deleting Lithgow. It's about lifting Lithgow up, putting us on a bigger stage, showing the world there's more here than they ever realised. And if we're serious about names and inclusion, then honestly, I'm even more concerned that incredible towns like Portland and Wallerawang, places with some of the brightest futures in our region, aren't being spotlighted either. Some people might worry, but if Lithgow isn't in the name, how will people know where the Seven Valleys are? The answer is simple. They'll know because we'll tell a better story. They'll know because we'll show them through our marketing, through our experiences, through the pride we take in every event, every visitor, every moment they spend here. Successful regions don't rely on spelling out council names. They rely on building identities people want to be part of. And let's be clear, Lithgow won't be forgotten. Lithgow will lead. It already is. It's the gateway to the Seven Valleys and to the broader Central West region, which is poised to become one of the major growth centres of the future. It's the centrepiece, the arrival gate, the foyer to the future. But clinging to a name won't make Lithgow stronger. Telling a bigger, more compelling story will. Those of us who truly understand branding, storytelling and placemaking know this. We're not attached to specific names. The power is in the bigger story, the bigger outcome, the chance to define ourselves.
I just need an extension, if I could please, for Mr. Evans. Councillor Ring, Councillor Marnie. There's no opposition? That's carried. Continue, Mr. Gurney.
The power is in the bigger story, the bigger outcome, the chance to define ourselves as a united region, not just a collection of towns. That's how you build something that lasts. That's how you create pride that every town and every person can share in. Because at the end of the day, what matters far more than any name is the story we tell about the future we are building here. A future where the Seven Valleys aren't just known for tourism, but for becoming a regional powerhouse, driving growth through tourism, renewable energy, manufacturing and the industries of the future. That's the story we need to tell the world. That's what people want to be part of. And when I talk about transformation, I'm not speaking in theory. I've lived it. I've been part of it. Look at what's happening at the Foundations in Portland. A few years ago, that site was seen as an industrial wasteland, a relic of a lost era. Today, it's evolving into a thriving community full of art, culture, opportunity and life. It didn't happen by clinging to the past. It happened by telling a bigger story, by believing that a place could change and working every day to make that story real. Hunter Valley didn't brand itself as Singleton. The Sunshine Coast didn't lock itself into Maroochydore Shire. The Blue Mountains didn't stamp Katoomba on every visitor guide. They succeeded because they thought bigger. They trusted their story to grow and evolve beyond a name. And that's exactly what the Lithgow can do. That's exactly what we must do for Lithgow, for Portland, for Wallerawang, for every part of the Seven Valleys. We say we want a better future for this place. Then let's have the courage to trust the work that's been done. Let's not clip the wings off a brand before it's even taken flight. Because in the end, people don't travel for council names. They travel for stories. They travel for emotion. They travel to places that inspire them. 7V can be that. It's bold, it's fresh. It invites people to be curious, to explore, to fall in love with this whole region the way we have. If we keep dragging old fears into a new era, we're selling ourselves short. And I know we're better than that. We're not hiding, we're evolving, we're ready. This isn't about one name or one town. It's about all of us together building a region people can believe in and be proud to call home. That's the future that we should be fighting for. Thank you for the chance to address the Chamber. Rich Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Gurney. Is there any other speaker in the audience that'd like to speak on anything that's on the agenda? No? Okay, we'll move on then. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the Mayoral Minute. Within the Lithgow local government area, we currently have 5 projects designated state significant development. 2 times battery energy storage system, 2 times wind farms, 1 at Sunny Corner and 1 at Benbullen, and 1 at Mount Lambie is designated state significant as well. Mount Piper, Lake Pump Hydro are both critical state significant infrastructure. These projects are dividing the community to the point of exhaustion. I have heard commentary expressing concern that Lithgow local government area is viewed as the dumping ground for New South Wales energy-related projects. I've also heard commentary that the Lithgow local government area will continue being the engine room for New South Wales. Opportunity and jobs are plenty. And with these new state significant developments and critical state significant infrastructure projects, the wider community is entitled to their viewpoint, and we should listen to all respectfully. To be fair, if the New South Wales government deems the project to be state significant or critical state infrastructure, then the New South Wales state government should take carriage of the process from the initiation of the project, which includes consultation with the community, carriage of the development applications related to the project. This could also include an option of defaulting the proposal direct to the New South Wales Independent Planning Commission, where it would be utilised to hear from residents who oppose or support the proponent to make cases regarding the merits of the proposal. When I was first on council, there was an Independent Planning Commissioner that came to Lithgow, and the Mayor at the time spoke at that Independent Planning Commission. Now, the outcome was positive, because the Independent Planning Commission actually listened to the residents, and it was used as a public meeting as well. The reality is, when a project becomes state significant, the option is for council to put in an opposition to it, or 50 residents can also put in an opposition. They have to be unique and they have to be individual. That actually refers it to the Independent Planning Commissioner. That's where they end up. My thought on this is the fact is, if that's where they're going to end, that's where they should start. The government, state government, needs to take ownership of the process, they need to take responsibility of the process, and they need to ensure that the process is fair for all those involved. Now, my recommendation is this, that Lithgow City Council writes to the New South Wales Minister for Planning, the Honourable Paul Scully, advocating for reforms to the regulatory framework governing state significant projects. This would include 1, management and oversight of the community consultation, where all stakeholders are treated equitably, including the council, community and the proponents. The determination of all related development applications, and a provision of proposals to default to the New South Wales Independent Planning Commission, enabling transparent hearings so that all stakeholders can present arguments both in support of and against a project. And this would actually support the community as well. I'll put that to Mayoral Minute. Any debate on this? Councillor Ring?
I have an amendment that I'd like to move.
Yeah, what would you like to move?
The council refer the issue of state significant development and critical state significant development to the planning working group to research the issues and prepare a position paper for council to review.
Councillor Tice is the seconder.
Thank you. If I
Would
could
you like to
speak to it.
speak? Sure.
Thank you. I don't disagree with what the Mayor has said. There are a lot of hairs on state significant development planning. The reason it did come along is the same reason a lot of city councils lost their planning roles, and that's of continually knocking back developments. The Environmental Planning Assessment Amendment Act 2024 was passed by both New South Wales Houses of Parliament on the 23rd and 24th of October 2024. And the main point from that is new point section 4A of part 438 of the EPA Act. The Planning Secretary may determine that particular development does or does not form part of a single proposed development for the purposes of subsection 4. This, in many ways, nullifies point 2 of the Mayor's Mayoral minute. The government's already dealt with this, and this is because of what occurred at the silver and gold mine, lead mine at Mudgee. The proponent did not include transmission lines in the state significant development. A local group opposed that, took them to court. They lost. When it went to the Court of Appeal, it was found that the state significant development should have incorporated the transmission lines as they were critical to the development. And for us as a council, and this does cause us problems, on the last council when the boreholes came to council, there were councillors opposed to them because of the pumped hydro. That's fine, except there was no legal balance on which to object to it. And we're going to have similar cases coming up. We need to be working with the government and the Secretary for planning to ensure that some of these items are dealt with in the state significant development. With respect to point 1, the proponent is responsible for consultation. But it's worth noting that the Local Government New South Wales submission to the New South Wales Productivity Commissioner on the review of independent Planning Commission in 2019 made the following recommendation. Recommendation 4, that the Productivity Commissioner considers options to require DPIE to consult local government throughout the development assessment process and to provide additional opportunities to adequately inform the community about SSD applications. This clearly is not happening, and it's a significant issue in the management of SSDs in New South Wales. What the Mayoral minute also does not address, and I think this is critical, is the time frame for public comments. An EIS for a significant state development project can be in excess of 4,000 pages. That's a lot of technical paperwork to read. You have 28 days to put in a submission. That's something that needs to change. That should be a longer period to allow people to absorb the information, to take it on board, and to formulate in a reasonable period of time their opposition or their support. The same report also recommended, this was recommendation 1, that decision-making authority for SSDs should be a truly independent body, such as the IPC. Regulatory mechanisms must ensure it operates in a transparent, independent manner and cannot be subject to potential change at the discretion of any future minister or government. Well, we've just seen with this act that the government's changed it in response to a failure of the legislation. But with IPC, it's not just the case of council. Council objecting will trigger a proposal going to IPC, but the council does not necessarily have to object. Council can support it. If council doesn't support it, that's fine, it'll trigger it, but you need 50 unique objections. There are no triggers for critical state infrastructure to be referred to the IPC. The only appeals process is a post-determined, once the minister determines it, is you have 30 days to prove a breach of the EPA Act. I believe as a council we need to develop a clear policy position on how to deal with SSD and critical SSD proposals moving forward, and this is why I prepared the amendments. It's a complex area. I'm actually quite impressed with the way Hay handled the wind turbines being established in their area, where they openly acknowledge that there are people for and against, but moving forward as a community, we need to do it respectfully and to agree to disagree. That's really critical. And we need to be able to do that. We need to be at the table when the discussions are being held, because if council's there, we can modify, we can push with the companies changes that we think may be needed or beneficial.
Councillor Ring, I'm sorry, your time's up. If you could wind up, please.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Yeah, look, I think it's really critical. We need to have a position. We need to understand moving forward. We need to be at the table, regardless of whether or not you oppose the project or not. These projects are coming. If we can influence the design, the size of the wind turbines in the early stages, and many of these projects are still only in the very early exploratory stage. And let's be frank, renewables don't bring in a lot of long-term positions. They will, however, trigger other industry, and there are other benefits that can come from these developments. We need to be there to get them, but we need an informed position that looks at the legislation and looks at what's been done in the past. If LG New South Wales couldn't get these changes, I'm not sure we can, but by putting a position paper forward, it may mean working with the Central JO to get a united position to go and say, we need changes, but we need to be clear and articulate what those changes are, not go over things that have already been changed, because the government's not going to go back on this. And I don't think either side of the House is going to make any changes. I think, they're pretty much all in bed with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Tyson?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm quite happy to support the recommendation. I was going to move something very similar myself, to go to a council information session, because on the books of the council we have two resolutions that have yet to be withdrawn or changed, and that is that Lithgow Council opposes an energy from waste facility within our local government area, which is no doubt a state significant issue, and also the other one in regards to the pumped hydro, which is a vote of 8 to 1 from memory, and the other one was 7-2. So it's the majority of the councillors have supported that, both those two, and they, in my mind, conflict with this mayoral minute, because if we were to go with this mayoral minute, and as Councillor Ring has indicated, the government's already set the position only as late as last year. And communities don't win arguments or don't win these positions if they just sit back and do nothing until the EIS comes out. Too late. You're just going to get your tummy tickled. No community waits until the EIS comes out. They start from day one and they bring it to the community's position. Councillor Ring spoke about council's position. Should not council's position be the community's position? We're representing the community, whether we like it or not. The reality is our position is the community's position. That's what we've done on Lake Lyell. That's what we've done on the waste to energy. And no doubt we'll probably do the same thing with the wind farms and whatever else comes along. We don't seem to have a real problem with the batteries, believe it or not. And I don't think anyone is going to have a problem with the batteries, because the batteries are going into Mount Piper and going into Wang. They're not going on the top of all these mountains across the Greater Lithgow. The other thing that surprised me was the Rich Evans talking about the 7 valleys, and here we are we've got 7 valleys, and then we're putting 7 wind farms literally on the top of from the valleys. So from the bottom of the valley, terrific, but if you look up from the bottom of the valley, all you're going to see is wind farms. Our position needs to be the community. This is just this. We've got to go somewhere else. We can't be tolerating this rubbish here in the mayoral minute, because, and I'm surprised that the Lake Lyell group went with it, because this is, you are getting your tummy tickled by the government, and you are too late. You are going to be too late. The fact that you've taken the fight up so early in the last couple of years, you've got your position on the council, you've got your voice on the council, and you've got your voice in the community. This is not going to do any favours for pumped hydro. If you want to stop it, you've got to keep fighting now. You've got to keep coming to this council meeting, every council meeting, and telling us what your problems are, which is what Mr. Thorpe did tonight. We need, if you're going to go against these things, then the community doesn't want them. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck with them. The companies are doing their work from day one. They've been doing this for years. They tried to do it at Oberon and didn't succeed, right? And if you don't do it the same thing that Oberon's doing, you're going to get walked over. The South Coast wind farms off the South Coast, they've been able to do that. The same thing with the North Coast. What would have happened if the Prime Minister had bought something on the further up the North Coast? All these things are political. They need to stop. You need to represent the community now. Start from day one. Keep the fight up. Mudgee did. If you look around, the ones that have got the wind farms, they all took a dive. They took the dough, and they did. We don't want the money. We want to represent the community and make sure that they're represented, and their lifestyles out there across the sunny corner, all across the top of the mountains, the forests remain the same. You're talking about this as commentary about being a dumping ground. That is what is being said. When we're going to have all these things, and if you look at everything that's going, we're the only ones that have got them. We're the only ones that have got them. It's just you've got to fight, and you've got to keep the fight from day one. You wait for the EIS, you're going to be 50 people. They don't care. Do you think they're going to care? Do you think the government's going to care? Don't care. Build them in all the electorates in Sydney. Stop putting them all up here. We've already carried the can with the Mount Piper and Wang over the years. We still want to carry Mount Piper with the coal. All them jobs are going to be lost. All we're going to see is wind farms. All we're going to see is waste to energy. You need to put the stop to it now, please.
Any further debate? Councillor Smith?
I'm somewhat perplexed here. Councillor Tysus, Councillor Ring seem to have the same target in focus of what we've all got. Now, if we act on this now, we are actually fighting in a different sphere, in my opinion, by going to an independent commission. If we wait for the environment impact study, we are waiting. And as for fighting and just starting now, this fight with the hydro has been going on now for quite some time. I do not see anything wrong with what's been proposed with those 3 points, and I will support them. By waffling around saying that we're going to do this and have some sort of committee, you go here, there, go there, whatever, we've been already doing this. This has already been happening. This has gone into council now, which has been voted on, as Councillor Tyser said, voted the hydro down. They voted the waste burner down. We've had misinformation that's gone through council on newsletters that's been sent back to Energy Australia to be altered, which they refused to do. They included the LEAP program into the same newsletters, which should not have been done. Now, we've been fighting these guys all the way, let's face it, and this is on a council level, and they have refused to cooperate in any way, shape or form. So if anybody's going to sort of say, you guys should have been doing this or you guys should have been doing that, we've already been doing it. And I don't see a problem at all with the 3 points that's been put up on the Mayoral Minute, and I will support that.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Just before you speak, Councillor Frederick, I'd like to speak against the amendment. Yes, sorry. Okay, so I'll come back. I'll go right up. So who else would like to speak? Councillor Fredericks.
My only worry, I guess, about pretty much giving up everything and allowing everything go straight to the IPC and removing council's position on discussing it, because that's how it originally read to me, is we were elected by the community to represent the community. We can't represent the community if we're going to just go, if it's state significant, it's got nothing to do with us, pass the buck.
That's not what I'm saying, Councillor Fredericks.
Well, I'm glad that's not what you're saying. No. That's just how it felt when I originally read it.
Yeah, that's why I took the feedback on board. That's not what I'm saying.
And we do have people in the community saying councillors aren't speaking for the whole community, they're not speaking for me. Well, we can't speak for the whole community if the whole community aren't coming and speaking to us. For instance, with the wind farms, I've had over 20 emails from 20 different people that are opposed to it, and I've had one that is for it. So what are we meant to do as representatives? Are we meant to represent the people that are coming towards us, giving us their views, or are we meant to represent The very small, quiet one. And I think that's where a lot of us are finding it difficult. We're getting influxes of emails, we're getting influxes of people that are against things, and the ones that are for these items are staying silent but calling us out at the same time. It is becoming difficult. These renewable schemes are taking up so much of our time. They're taking up our time here, they're taking up our time outside of here, they're taking up time in information sessions, in public meetings. And do you want to know who's doing the public meetings? It's the communities. It's not Sameva, it's not Tetris, it's not EA. It is literally the community. And I think that's the biggest issue that we are facing. And it's getting annoying. I'm getting exhausted. I don't want to open up the emails because I know I'm going to have another 20 emails of those that are opposed to it. And then when you go onto Facebook, you've got all these people commenting, you're not representing me, you're representing a small minority. And it's like, well, what are we meant to do here? So if anyone can find a solution on how we can deal with these things, I'm all ears.
Thank you. Now, we're speaking on the amendment at the moment. I am entitled to speak to the amendment, but I will come back to myself. Councillor Statham.
I find this quite unbelievable that this could stop proper debate in our meetings. When people come here, they're ratepayers, mostly coming to sort out a problem. They want to be heard. And as far as, to me, I was told this morning in 3 phone calls, they want to stop debate. Well, we are here tonight and every other monthly night to have debate, as much as some of us don't like it, including me, but it has to be done. This is very important. Now, I don't know whether a lot of people realise so many significant matters we know about because we've been sensible enough to read and listen and learn. But to the average person out in this gallery tonight, and I'll speak to the chair, which is correct procedure, have you ever thought about when you buy a block of land, doesn't matter whether it's at Taranar, Meadow Flat, Sunny Corner, Dark Corner, wherever, you have to pay for a road in. You have to pay for your power, a bore, your electricity, to name just a few. So there's $500,000. Then they go and buy a house, or to build a house, there's $500,000. So people, as Mr. Ford said today, their life is ruined. Now, I live about 100 or maybe 1.5 kilometres away from it, but my view is going to be less than significant. That's why I'm not calling not worrying about putting in but it's insignificant or non-pecuniary. But we have to listen to these people. The IOS we need to do before we get that. We've run too late, the same as what the Glenmire people did. They had barristers working on that who I know very well, but they left their run too late. It is not too late for the Meadow Flat, Taranar, Sunny Corner, all those wonderful country places that are why we need to have tourists come to our area. We cannot afford to lose the tourism, and to think they're as high as Centre Point Tower, the highest ones in the whole of Australia. What a load of garbage. And ear infections. I've been talking to a wonderful man that's in Bathurst, and at least 50 to 60% will get ear infections after 5 to 10 years. So we've got to think about that. And I think also debate is very important. But the other thing that I know, and personally know these people, prime agricultural land. Have a look in our rates. Have a look in our rates to see how many farms in our local government area are prime agricultural land. Not many. Glen Alice and Meadow Flat and maybe a little bit over at Rydal or Taranar. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to stop that prime agricultural land going down the gurgler, excuse my way of explaining that, because of wind farms that are going to leave those farms and properties in disarray after 15 to 25 years. And then they're telling us now, oh no, we're going to get a war chest and we're going to be able to pay for that. Garbage, garbage, garbage. And I must say, I am passionate. I very rarely feel this passionate, but I've seen people crying at the meetings. I've seen people arguing at the meetings, but father and wife, my husband and wife, just let them go. We cannot let this go. I don't care if it's more money for council, but you've got to be transparent as General Manager, the Mayor and staff involved to invite the people that are running these wind farms here to our meeting, information session, which most of the councillors voted on. I don't believe we need it. If you want to read and get what's on top of things, you should know what's going on. I don't want to offend anybody either, but at the end of the day, we need the chance and the opportunity to do the right thing by our ratepayers. And I beg you all to think about, what if it was your home? Do you think Scully and Sharp are going to go to Sydney and put it across Rose Bay or down over Cronulla? I don't think so. So look after your local government area and stop the rot. Thank you.
I'm just going to come back to the actually amendment posed because we're getting off track. The amendment, it states the council refer the issue of the state significant development and critical state significant development to a planning working group to research the issues and prepare a position paper for council to review. That's what we're actually debating. So I'm going to go to Councillor Evangelides to debate on the amendment.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. I like the Mayoral minute. I like the update. It all looks good to me. I also agree with Councillor Ticehurst, and I'm going to support Councillor Ring with the amendment because I think they're both sort of good. So I think we've got to investigate it more. But this reads well to me. Whatever gives us a clearer and better voice is what we all want. I don't know the pathway to get there, and but that's paramount, clearly. And if this is going to give us a more effective voice, then we should do it. But I will vote for the amendment because, yeah, we need to get across this a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further debate on the amendment?
Is this amendment going to override the 3 points that you put up in the Mayoral?
Yeah, so basically the amendment states that we refer it to the planning working group to research the issues and prepare a position paper. So the 3 points will be going to a planning working group to research the issues. So basically it's being referred to a working group.
Well, I'm probably more confused even now. I can't see why we don't get on with it and attack now.
What's your point of order? Yeah, sorry, he's correct. Yeah, you already asked a question. You can't speak again. You're right, Councillor Toaster, so I uphold that. Any further debate?
Yes, I can speak again and ask a question. Who will be on that committee? Thank you, Mayor.
So that's a good question. Councillor Ring can answer that.
There were 3 or 4 councillors that were originally put their hands up to go into it. My understanding is when the first meeting will be called, and this will be a trigger for it, all councillors will be invited to attend. Any councillor that wants to participate on the working party can. That's not about excluding people. It's about having an informed discussion. It's about doing appropriate research and coming up with a consensus.
Thank you, Councillor.
All right, second question. I can have 2 questions. The people, for instance, that are in the public or live at Rydal or wherever they live, if they wish to come, why don't we get the people that are running this, that own this business, to come and speak to everyone at council in a public meeting?
Well, that's up to Sabina.
Pardon?
And an information session, are you talking about?
That's what they requested a month ago. It was an information session.
I think General Manager?
Through you, Mayor. There has been an information session organised in May. One of the information sessions will include, as I understand it, both Samiga and Tetris presenting to councillors and providing a briefing.
Thank you.
Just coming back to the debate, Councillor Marnie, will you?
Just briefly, thank you, Mayor. The amendment Councillor Ring's putting forward does give us a pathway to consider a range of options. I can see across the council group that there is a desire to interrogate this issue more closely. I appreciate the representation I got with a number of other councillors who provided specific information about the proposal, particularly surrounding high residential proximity. There's a whole host of things there. I am getting people who are supportive of it talking to me. I'm getting people who are not supportive of it. I feel this gives us a pathway as a council group to review this a little bit more closely. So I'm going to support the amendment.
Not a problem. Any further debate? I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? All those against? Declare the amendment carried. I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? All those against?
Could I call a division, please?
Sure. All those in favour of the motion,
No, of the amendment.
which is now the motion? Councillor Statham, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Evangelides, Councillor Ring, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Fredericks and Councillor Tysus. All those against? Councillor Smith and Councillor Coleman. The matter has been carried. Thank you. Let's move on. Notice of motion 2.2. Councillor Fredericks, do you have a seconder? Councillor Marnie, please read out your recommendation and speak to it.
All right, as most in the community know, we've had 2 fatalities on the same stretch of highway, e-scooter fatalities with a vehicle. This notice of motion seeks that Council urgently request Transport for New South Wales to consider the installation of traffic safety remediation works on the Great Western Highway between Main Street, Lithgow and Magpie Hollow Road, Bongmanfolds, following the second fatal e-scooter motor vehicle accident in 8 months. The recommendation is that Council urgently request Transport for New South Wales to consider the installation of traffic safety remediation works on the Great Western Highway. 2, works with TELC, Transport New South Wales and other agencies to come up with ideas on what can and cannot work in regard to future safety improvements on this stretch of road. And 3, works with the families of the 2 fatalities to organise appropriate and permanent memorials for the 2 sites. Now, I did bring this up at the last TELC meeting, and we did have a bit of a chat about it with the Transport for New South Wales representative that was there. We did throw around some ideas, such as cutting back some of the trees in those areas, because you know where the bigger path parts are, where you can easily fit a family and a couple of prams without the risk of them falling off or getting hit, and kind of like hurting pedestrians towards those areas with something similar that's at Woolworths, where you either side you've got like the little path there that shows pedestrians are crossing. Things like that can easily come into play with those type of situations, giving pedestrians proper safe space to cross, and also other solutions such as lighting, adding more lighting, getting rid of a lot of vegetation, maybe even possibly rising the walls in certain places to prevent attempted crossings. It will be a long drawn out process, but if we can start moving forward with those kind of things and making that road a bit more safer, because it has increased in traffic flow, both vehicles and pedestrian wise. I don't want to see another fatality there, and I don't think anyone in the community wants to see another fatality there. So something needs to be done, and it kind of needs to start getting done now.
Councillor Marnie?
If I could ask Councillor Fredericks, with her endorsement, would you be comfortable if we extended it to include intersections contained within the segment of the highway described above, just for motorists and pedestrian safety there? I appreciate that.
So that's an amendment?
Yeah. Could I also ask...
An additional point, I think.
Yeah, sorry, an additional point. Thank you.
Can you go over that again, Councillor Marnie, for the minute taker? It's important.
The intersections contained within the segment of highway described above, in points in the report, be reviewed by Transport for New South Wales for both motorists and pedestrian safety.
So just wait, if we could wait, if that's okay. So. That's right. Okay. Councillor Marnie?
Thank you. And I thank Councillor Fredericks for bringing this to the Council. It is an important issue. There's clearly an issue that goes through a number of intersections. Both there's an elevated area around First Street where it's very hard to get view lines to Coldrew Drive, and also anyone heading westbound out of First Street, the risk you're taking is significant because of exactly the issues you were talking to in regard to vegetation management and view lines at that location. So I don't want to take the motion too far away from the important issues that Councillor Fredericks raised. I did have a gentleman ask me to come and sit at 2 intersections with him and watch vehicle behaviour. Cars driving eastbound and driving into the hospital were crossing over the eastbound traffic coming out. You need a diagram in front of you to see this. He'd been watching that, and apparently, and I can't confirm this, and I don't like to bring things up that I can't fully confirm, but I understand there was an accident there on Anzac Day. So it's exactly what the gentleman had spoken to me about a few weeks ago, and he took me out to watch behaviour. So I think over time, this section of road, most people are driving late model cars, their ability to move and accelerate quickly. I believe a lot of people are exceeding the 70 kilometre speed in there. So I just ask that those things be looked at concurrently. I also think there's an item later in the business paper which probably needs to be considered, what we have discussed here in relation to maintenance of it.
I'll be moving a procedural motion straight after this to bring 3.7 forward.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Tyson. I also, I'm happy for this to sit with Councillor Fredericks, but I'd just note that I did raise the issues that are being raised at the ordinary meeting of the 25th of November 2024 in regard to safety issues in the highway corridor and vegetation management. I won't say any more. I think the motion is an important one, and it's got a very good focus on community safety, so I'm very happy to support it.
Thank you. Any further Councillor Statham and then Councillor Ring and Councillor Goodwin.
A question first, and I realise it has a significant interest in another question Councillor Tysos has just requested. In terms of who owns the highway in that terrible section of road, is that it's not council, is it?
My understanding is state government, is that correct?
Yes. So they will be one that we need to lobby for funding to do that, because 2 people have died. So no money will replace those lives. So fortunately it's not council. We need to delegate and do advocacy work, strong advocacy work for money to do that highway up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Statham. Councillor Ring.
The issues were discussed at length at the last town meeting. What was also discussed was when there are fatalities on the highway, there are reports done for council, and that looks at a raft of issues, including lighting, line markings, weather conditions, and road conditions. What I'd like to do is amend point 3. It's not our road. I'd like to move it so we refer the request for permanent memorials on the Great Western Highway to town for consideration. We can't make it.
If you're happy with that, Councillor Fredericks, I think that's an important point.
I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah, we can't make a determination on the road that we don't own. We did discuss it briefly at the town meeting, but it wasn't minuted, which is why I wanted it referred back. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. If we captured that, I'll just get that changed. Councillor Goodwin, once that's done, you've got the call. Yep, it's up. Thank you, Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you, ma'am. I was going to ask also Councillor Fredericks if she would consider maybe removing point 3 from this recommendation. It's setting a precedent that council's council's responsibility to find and pay for memorials to any family that would that a request that someone may have passed away in any area of our LGA. How much is it going to cost? Time, people away from work looking for suitable locations. That would be one thing I would ask. Also, again, council, we desperately need traffic lights, more traffic lights up on that highway, and also council, we're still approving developments that are coming out of those areas without traffic lights. So what I think is that we should be approving, or we should be looking at traffic lights as well on that side of the road.
Councillor Fredericks?
I do know that there was a short discussion about the possibility of some more traffic lights being introduced. I think was it at the hospital?
There has been discussions, but
Yeah.
it depends on the number of. Sorry, mate. If I may, it depends on the number of developments that are going ahead, which triggers the installation of lights.
We might get a response from from Mr. Edgecombe in a minute, but coming just back to point 3, Councillor Fredericks, in regards to the families and the fatalities, are you interested in what Councillor Goodwin's saying in regards to that? Because I have concerns too. I actually agree with Councillor Goodwin.
My only concern about it completely wiping out the possibility of these memorials is that's going to hurt the families quite a lot, especially with the 14-year-old boy that lost his life. I know that a lot of his mates did work with the family to put that up. As I said, if we can work with the families to find appropriate,
it's going to TAC anyway, isn't it? So
it's just, it was one of those things. What's currently there does distract drivers, which is why I did bring this up. If we can help them find a more suitable permanent solution, doesn't mean we have to pay for it. We can just give advice on what could be appropriate. But yeah, it's going back to TALC anyway.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And as for the traffic, hang on, so traffic lights, Councillor Goodwin, you referred to traffic lights. Did you want to, Mr. Edgecombe, want to just touch on that, if that's okay? You asked a question about that, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Coleman, I think I can just add a little bit of value and some context for the council and some advice. The urban section of the Great Western Highway is about 3 kilometres long. Residents live the whole way along it, and there's only 2 formalised crossings, one at Bayonet Street and one at Main Street. If you live between Main Street and Bayonet Street, you've potentially got 500 metres to walk to the nearest formalised crossing, which water is the same. Pedestrians typically operate the same way water does. They follow the path of least resistance, and they'll cross wherever they can. So we do need to provide more opportunities for people to cross there. But the situation gets worse as you look at the Bayonet Street intersection. If you live on one of the new properties along Magpie Hollow Road, or even further south than the pub on the corner there, it's potentially 2 kilometres to walk to the Bayonet Street crossing. So people aren't going to walk that far; they're going to cross wherever they can. So to Councillor Goodwin's point, the installation of a signalised crossing there will reduce the walk from 2 kilometres down to 800 metres. And I'd also suggest that we potentially raise with Transport for New South Wales the idea of some type of a pedestrian overbridge or something between Bayonet Street and Main Street to provide more opportunities for pedestrians to cross in a formalised, safe way to stop the deaths that are occurring along that stretch of highway.
Thank you. Was that satisfactory, Councillor Goodwin? All right, any further debate on this? Councillor Evangelidis?
I think it'd be, I agree with Councillor Goodwin. I think memorials should really only be for people in service that have lost their lives. I think the way around that would be like a naming plaque on a park bench or something. It's just basically a little brass plaque. They do it at many councils in Sydney. And so there is a way of remembering, but I think memorials should really just be for service people. And I want to congratulate Councillor Frederick for just bringing this up. I drove over there today, and desperately needs traffic lights, and it's too far to walk. And I mean, are these scooters banned now? I think they.
I don't know. That'd be
they're only allowed to be used on private property, such as like your own footpath in your own yard. They're not allowed to be on public footpath or public roads.
Yeah. So I think that if we could remove the word memorial and maybe just replace it with something, remembrance or something.
Are you happy with that? Would you like to, could you tweak your notice of motion, Councillor
you.
Fredericks. What would you like to tweak it to?
Work with the families of the two fatalities to organise appropriate and permanent remembrance plaques or something.
Still needs to go to the TAC anyway.
Yeah, it still has to go to TALC, but at least we have a setting to work out.
I think that's a great compromise. Thank you. Councillor Marnie, and then come back to Councillor Tysus. Sorry, Councillor Tysus.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I just want to bring to the council's attention that on the town side of the Great Western Highway, there's at least, I know, one laneway, and I think on the other side of the Lander Street side of the highway, I think there's at least two coming up from the old Pizza Hut to Hungry Jack's. There's at least two laneways, which is where they're coming from, which is why they're crossing the highway. So they're coming out of that area, not through the streets. They're coming out through laneways that were put in there when it was built. And I think on the other side, there's about halfway up, somewhere near the, about halfway up towards the Pizza Hut, there's another laneway that comes down into Muscat Parade, where you turn to where it comes to an end. If you have a look there where the house is on the right opposite, there's a laneway goes straight up onto the highway. And that's why they're filtering into those sort of streets to walk back into town, ride bikes and so on. So that needs to be looked at as well. The other issue is the reason for negotiating with the families in regards to the memorials is so that you get it in the right place. Otherwise, they will put them wherever they wish. And no one is going to take it away, not this council, not the Traffic New South Wales. They negotiate with the families to come up with a very suitable memorial at a very safe location. They may even put seats. They may even put tables and chairs. If you have a look around, we've got the two of them out there on the highway at Lithgow State Forest from the accident back in December year before last from memory. And they're starting to grow. And you can see the families are coming and they're doing this. They're actually mowing lawns and all sorts of things out there because that's their memorial. So be it. It's a memorial. That's what they want. If you negotiate with them, they'll get what they then need with safety surrounding it.
Thank you, Councillor Tyson. If there's no further debate, I'll bring it back to. Is there any further debate? Councillor Fredericks, would you like to reply, or are you happy for the motion to be put?
I'm happy for the motion to be put. I think everyone's contributed quite
Very well. Yeah, that's been great. All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. And the procedure, what are you moving? So 3.7.
Thank you.
Do we have any opposition to that? No, I don't need a seconder. No, I just need to ask if there's any opposition. Is there any opposition to that? No, then that's carried. 3.7, we move forward, please.
I move the recommendation with a point 3, and that is that council undertake an immediate remediation works on the Great Western Highway between the 2 points. In other words, we do the job quickly. It needs it now. We're not going to wait until Transport does anything. We need to do it now.
Is there a seconder? Point 3 seconder. Councillor Fredericks has seconded that. Councillor Tysus, you've just spoken to it, but speak to it again if you like.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I move the recommendation. I just note that on page 47, the council report indicates that no policy existed. There is a policy that it does exist, and it was highlighted over the weekend. I've got it here somewhere. I think it's 10.15, where since 2009 we've had responsibility for it. But the other thing I commend to the council is that we need to come up with a strategy where we don't need to be whippersnipping and mowing and all that sort of thing. We need to put a permanent sort of process in where it can be done once a year. In other words, whether it's bark right down the middle, whether it's and then a spraying once in a while. We shouldn't really need to be closing the roads to be doing this, 3 or 4 times a year. We get a lot of rain. We're back on deck doing it again. We need to come up with some sort of permanent strategy where whatever's on the inside on the ground is not creating weeds, is not creating grass and all that sort of thing, that we then have to close the road to do it, and at great expense. So I'd encourage the council to look at some sort of process where they can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tyson. Councillor Fredericks, you seconded it. And just after you speak, if you wouldn't mind, I'll ask Mr Edgecombe to comment on it, because you've had some updates in regards to this issue from Transport for New South Wales. I'll wait till Councillor Fredericks speaks, and then I'll come to you. Councillor Fredericks.
Yeah, well, like I said, with the previous motion going through to TALC and also having Transport New South Wales involved, I'm hoping that anything that we can discuss in TALC to make that stretch safer will actually end up helping council down the track in the maintenance, because let's face it, councils get stuck with a lot of maintenance to do with state roads. So hopefully something can come out of it where it's beneficial for both motions.
Thank you, Councillor Frederick. Before I go to you, Councillor Statham, because I know you'd like to speak on this, Mr Edgecombe, you do have an update, so could you provide the councillors with that update, please?
Through you, Mayor Coleman, we have had an update. We've been advised by Transport for New South Wales that in their southern region, the councils there faced a similar issue where the road occupancy licence requirements were changed, where council was doing the work on behalf of Transport for New South Wales. And in that circumstance, Transport for New South Wales paid a variation to that council to cover the additional cost of work. We've not yet got a confirmation whether Transport for New South Wales are going to consider that for our area, but it's really useful advice to have, and they continue to commit to us that they will work with us as closely as required to see this issue to resolution.
Thank you,
Could I ask a question for clarification on what was said by...
Just by then, yes.
Yep.
I'll set, Councillor Statham was to speak first, so I need to come back to her.
No, that's fine.
Ladies first.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. In regard to what Mr Edgecombe said, I totally agree. For many years I have wanted new entrances, and we have had many talks and advocacy situations which have unfortunately not been commenced. However, there are new products now that you can put along that highway, which you can stop probably 80% of the weeds and keep it looking great. We need something that's going to give us good first impressions. You come into any town and the first thing you look at is the entrances in and out of our areas, as well as Portland, Mayoral, and later on the smaller villages. But there are definitely some outcomes now that you can use on the medium strip, and I think some of the older trees that have got damage in them now needs to go, and there needs to be a new entrance, new signage, and something that we're all proud of.
Thank you, Councillor Statham. Councillor Ring?
Yep. Before I speak to it, just clarification from Mr Edgecombe for you, if I may.
Yep.
So the Southern Councils are being paid by Transport for New South Wales to maintain Transport for New South Wales assets, while we're actually paying out of ratepayers' money to maintain a state asset.
Through you, Mayor Coleman, I haven't sought additional clarity other than that which they've provided, but my reading of what was provided to me is that Transport were previously providing, the councils were previously providing a service to Transport for New South Wales. Transport required a change to that service that increased the cost, and that cost increase only was borne by Transport for New South Wales by way of a variation.
So my understanding is that there was an issue that we're facing happened down south with councils down south, and Transport for New South Wales has stepped in. So there is a precedent.
Yeah, look, I don't think we should be funding. I'm happy with the third point that Councillor Tyson has put in. I don't want to necessarily change that. But I don't think we should be funding the maintenance, 40 to 50,000, and with the new changes, Transport for New South Wales came back, adds considerably more expense from ratepayers' money. I'd be happy if Councillor Tyson would accept it, just to change point 3 as a one-off, so undertake immediate remediation works on the matter outlined above as a one-off works, and an additional point that council negotiates for payment from Transport for New South Wales for future works of the medium strip. If Councillor Tyson is happy to accept that.
Councillor Tyson?
I'm assuming that comment is incumbent in the motion already, because we're waiting on the advice from Transport for New South Wales. We're still waiting on that advice.
Yeah, my understanding of what Councillor Tysus is putting up is you'll undertake immediate remediate works on the matters outlined above. So that tells me that
I want the works done tomorrow.
you want the works done in the medium strips done tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to wait another 3 or 4 months for this mob to get back to me.
So okay, brilliant. Yeah. So can we get a point of clarity?
Just to be clear, the recommendation isn't seeking Transport for New South Wales to pay for council to complete these works in the future. All it's doing is asking for Transport for council to advocate for the to apply the previous road occupancy licence conditions that were previously applied. So there's no additional cost to council. However, so we're not asking for money from Transport. We're just asking for those previous conditions to be applied as they were.
We need to be out.
I'm happy to do that.
Councillor, sorry, can I just? No, no, we don't. That's the problem we've got.
I'd like to
Councillor Marnie, I'll come to Councillor Marnie.
Question.
Councillor Marnie.
I hadn't finished speaking.
Oh,
No, that's right.
No, I just wanted to know because okay, we got that up there. Councillor Tyser is happy with that because at the end of the day, we're going to get dumped with the old Great Western Highway from Hartley to maintain. Now, as a council, and as all councils complain about cost shifting from the government, it's about time we gave them something back. We shouldn't be maintaining their asset. It's that simple. I think do a one-off now, get it safe, but let them pay for it in the future. Let them do the treatment. We've got enough on our plate to look after without looking after the state government's roads.
thank you, Councillor Marnie.
I'm going to be fairly blunt on this. I've listened to what Councillor Ring has said, and I'm pretty much in your corner on this. We have, for a considerable amount of years, paid to maintain someone else's asset. I don't understand that principle. Local governments generally maintain from the fog line or the white line on the outer edges of the highway. For us to pay for occupancy licences, and I do a bit of this in my day job, is extremely expensive. And certainly the median strip is the asset of the New South Wales State Government through the Transport for New South Wales. 40 or 50,000 is a significant block of community projects that I'd rather see activated than us managing. And I agree with Councillor Ring that both these assets that are coming over to us, I've got question marks on us maintaining them. Yes, the occupancy licences have become very expensive, and they're also limited into the school hours. So you're looking at 9:30. By the time you get a team going, it's 10 o'clock, and you've got to get them off the site by about 2. So, and you've got to give them breaks in amongst that. Now, Transport for New South Wales and their contractors are suitably equipped with appropriate trucks to bring speed down to 40 kilometres and undertake the work. I agree with Councillor Ticehurst as far as the one-off. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, just with occupancy licences, but it has to happen promptly. But for us to cough up the $10,000 to $15,000 to maintain a state government asset when we're under fairly substantial financial stress as a council, that needs to be just a very clear pushback on that. So my view is that we advise them of an intention to cease maintaining their asset, and that they undertake to maintain their asset. We do want to influence it, as both Councillor Tyson and Councillor Stathan have said. Careful selection of plant material will get better results as far as maintenance goes, but I just don't understand why we're doing it. So I'd like to see point 2 fairly strongly advocated on behalf, and that Transport for New South Wales take back their rightful responsibility and maintain that strip.
Thank you, Councillor Marty. Just before you go, Councillor Tyson, can we get an understanding of how much this would cost the council if we did these works promptly, as Councillor Marty says, in regards to the cost? That'd be great for me or anybody else.
Through you, Mayor Coleman, are you which works are you referring to? Maintenance or an upgrade so that we could reduce maintenance?
Either.
As it stands, it's in the report, but we generally pay between $5,000 and $10,000 per event to maintain the highway, but this is going to increase that to between $10,000 and $15,000. So it's a substantial increase if we were to adhere to the new occupancy license requirements. But to put a figure on upgrading the median, I would need to understand more about the scope that the council's looking to apply. Are we looking at mulching? Are we looking at concreting? Are we looking at removing the trees altogether and having a maintenance-free verge? I think through you, Mayor Coleman, I might suggest that perhaps the matter be tabled for an infrastructure committee for some more robust discussion.
I think that'd be a great idea.
If I may, could we ask Councillor Tyson for you what he means by remediation?
Yeah.
I took it to mean getting in, cutting the grass, getting the weeds down and making it look safe.
Yeah, because I'd like some clarification as well, Councillor.
Well, I'm looking for the job to be done like you normally do. Is that a possibility?
We can do it. As was mentioned by somebody just a moment ago, won't get done tomorrow. We do need to apply for the licenses again and organise the contractors, but we can get it. We could likely get it done within the month, and as I said in the report, about 10 to 15,000 would be what it costs.
For you, Mayor Coleman.
Yes.
Would it be possible to change the word in point 3 from remediation to maintenance?
To maintenance. Councillor Tyson, would you happy to move that? Change that, to immediate maintenance. And you're happy with that, Councillor Tyson? If we can get that updated, please. Done? Thank you.
I've just got a clarification there, if I may.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
not a question, but it's certainly a clarification before we finish up. It indicates in the report that the council has no policy existing for this. The council does have a policy. I mentioned it. I couldn't find my paperwork. It's in property management, which is 10.15, nature strip and median strip maintenance. Number 3, and this is why we're paying for it. We agreed to pay for it since 2009. Council will mow and or maintain centre medians, including those on the Great Western Highway within the 70k kph zone. That's why we're doing it. That's our policy. It's on our books. All right. Now, point 2, I think we can finish number 4 off if we're prepared to put to finding a financial solution to the matter of council's maintenance within the bounds of the urban. If we put the word financial, that would negate number 4. And that we're asking the minister to find a financial solution. In other words, if we're going to continue doing it, we want to get paid for it in this day and age. This has been going on for nearly 16 years.
Yeah.
So, in fact, it is our policy. That's why we're meant to be doing it. The other question I got, I thought I saw the word bus or school bus in the process.
That's the policy.
Yeah, thank you. Where we couldn't do it in the school while the school buses were going, was that part of the comment? If that's the case,
that's a question. Can we get that answer?
Could it not be done during school holidays?
Mr. Edgecombe?
Yes. So one of the limitations imposed on us is the times of work. We've been told that we can't start work during school hours, like the school zone trigger points, and we have to cease work before the afternoon school zones start. We can conduct works in between school holidays, but they're limited periods, and sometimes our maintenance requirements don't fall within those if we're to provide our acceptable levels of service. So it would be a great ambition, but it might not work in practicality.
Okay. Does that answer? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we're just updating the changes.
So what do you want to drop?
Yeah, okay.
Drop number 4, because if I put in the word in number 2, in the middle there, in finding a financial solution to the matter of council's maintenance, that would negate number 4.
Yeah, look, I'm happy for that.
Thank
You're
you.
happy with that? Can I just make a suggestion, Councillor, that we actually look at the policy? I think the policy needs a review. Yeah, no, we need a review of the policy. Yeah, so I think in the future we need to have a look at the policy.
With respect, Mayor, the policy is not a legally binding document. I've inquired through Mr. Edgecombe. Staff are unable to find any formal agreement with Transport for New South Wales, and any agreement I doubt would be valid for this time period. So I doubt there's any valid legal agreement. As for the policy, I'll ask Mr. Edgecombe to bring it to the next infrastructure committee, and we'll modify it.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Could I have please one question?
Yes,
Coleman?
Councillor Statham.
In terms of the other side of the heading back towards the east, could I please ask Mr. Edgecombe who now pays for that from the McDonald's to the information session? Because my understanding was that the New South Wales government did that, and then council did it up through the trees at Marangaroo. Is that correct or not?
Councillor Statham, Mr. Edgecombe.
Through you, Mayor Coleman, we use historically, I'm talking pre-2022-ish, we used to maintain all the way from Cox's River Road through to Girraween Drive. I renegotiated that a couple of years ago, and it saw that length cut in half, and Net Transport for New South Wales now maintains from Girraween Drive all the way through to the Visitors Information Centre.
Is that satisfying,
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor Statham? Councillor Tyson, if you'd like write a reply or not, you'd like me to put it? I think everybody's had enough debate, I think. I'll put that. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you. We come back to 2.2. I need a mover for 2.2. We have a recommendation.
Yeah, I'll move it.
I need a seconder, please. I'll second it, Councillor Marnie. Thank you. If there's no debate, I'll put that to you. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Collar division. All those in favour? Please raise your hand. 2.2, Councillor Statham. You just look a little lost, that's all. I'll just wait for you if you like. Okay, so we're doing a division. So all those in favour? So it's Councillor Coleman, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Evangelidis, Councillor Ring, Councillor Smith and Councillor Marnie. All those against? Councillor Statham, Councillor Tysus and Councillor Frederick. Would you like me to do that again, Councillor Statham? You right? Okay, the matter's carried. Okay, 2.3, Councillor Fredericks. Is there a seconder? And please read out your recommendation and speak to it. Councillor Tysus, thank you. Councillor Fredericks, you are moving.
All right. Now I gave Trinity the updated recommendation. I don't know if she's managed to pop it up yet.
Are you moving something not on the papers?
Yes.
Right.
I've added to it. But I'll just start with the commentary of it. The Ben Bullen Wind Farm has now been designated a state significant project, and other projects are on the same way for it. The more I deep dive into the wind turbines, the more worry I seem to have. I have been sent so much information that I've had to kind of divvy it out to other people to help me sift through it and to fact check it. One thing that does concern me is one of the components in these wind turbines, which is the PFAS and the PFOS, which is often used in the blade coatings and lubricants. It's actually been banned in Denmark, France, Germany, Norway, Sweden, Netherlands, and Canada is currently restricting use of it. I will say that your third mayoral minute after becoming mayor, the original part of it was you're concerned with the new fire station was their use of the PFAS, the possible contamination of the park. The more I look into this, it's the PFAS that is the first part to degrade of wind turbines, and it can go hundreds of kilometres, if not further, once these do start to degrade, that means the determination zone is going to be a lot swifter. I mean, Portland Central School's, 2 k's away from the nearest turbine? St. Joseph's, maybe another k further out. I mean, that's where our kids are. And it's the playgrounds that they play in. So with these type of components in these wind turbines that are known to degrade and fly off, that's putting kids at risk. And just some of the health issues that come from the use of PFOS and the PFAS, especially to children, neurodevelopmental outcomes such as cognition behaviours, neuropsychology functioning, reproductive effects such as decreased fertility or increased high blood pressure, developmental effects and delays in children, low birth weights in children, accelerated puberty, bone variations and behavioural changes, increased risk of some cancers including prostate, kidney, testicular, reduced ability of the body's immune system to fight infections. And our state government wants to make this a state significant project when that's one of the components in these wind turbines.
Councillor Frederick, if I could please, could I get you to read out the recommendation for the
so
live stream? Because they will want to know it.
It's that one, council note to the proposed Ben Bullen, Palmer's Oakley, Sunny Corner wind farms, which are in addition to the recently announced numerous other New South Wales Labor government net zero energy projects to be located within and around the Lithgow City Council LGA. 2, the multiple health and contamination issues associated with PFOS and PFAS, which has seen numerous countries ban this component. 3, the IPA Institute of Public Affairs report that has been forwarded to all councillors and general manager. And 4, to seek a proper information session with both groups, those against the projects and with Smeeva and Tetris and any other renewable companies that may come forward with proposals.
Thank you. That was really important for the live stream. Councillor Tysus, you've seconded this. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I congratulate Councillor Fredericks for bringing this motion to the council. We've already discussed it earlier in the meeting. I won't go into too much other than I certainly agree with the fact that we look at some sort of a public meeting which is seeking a proper information session with both groups, those against the project and those with the Smeeva and Tetris and any other renewable companies that come along. So it may be timely, perhaps not in winter, but certainly timely in the very near future to try and get some sort of a suitable time, date and place where everybody can come along and we can have some sort of community session on it. So I congratulate Councillor Fredericks on bringing this to the council.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Ring?
I think without having the specifications, I don't know what's in the blades or what's in the design, whether or not it's changed. It could be entirely different, given all the issues around PFSAs in New South Wales at the moment, which is why I always wait until I've got the final documents in front of me. Point 4 is only talking about meeting with those against it. Is it intended to include people who support it?
Point 4 is for both parties. It clearly states those against the projects and with Smeeva and Tetris and any other renewable companies that go to bring forward any proposals.
I think the question Councillor Ring was saying, those against,
it's not saying,
but you haven't stated those 4.
Happy to put as a seconder, and I'm sure Councillor Fredericks will agree, that for clarity, those 4 and against.
Thank you. Councillor Fredericks, are you happy to change that, please?
Okay. Look, I can live there. I actually think item 4 should go to the planning workshop, but we can discuss that in the planning workshop anyway.
Thank you. Any further commentary, Councillor Goodwin?
Yeah, Mayor, yes, Mayor. I'd be happy with 1 and 4, but I'm like to see more information on the health contamination issues associated with that. I know that they're dangerous. I'd just like to see a little bit more information on it. There was an email sent to us today, or the last couple of days. I haven't had time to read that email as I've been at work. So I'd vote on number 1 and 4, but
are you moving an amendment that states 1 and 4?
Well, if I have to do that, if she'd like just 1 and 4 at the moment till we have that information session, and then we can have a look at it after that.
So you want me to remove the
2 and 3?
for us to note the multiple health and contamination issues associated and the public affairs report about how much of the money stays in Australia and the rest disappears?
Yeah, if one is left in there and 4 is left in there and 2 and 3 are removed, that's what I'd vote, and that's what, if I have to move an amendment, I might do that.
So,
if you're not happy with it.
No, if you want, I can remove those 2 points and wait for a proper information session.
Yeah.
Right.
so
For us
you're
to get all
moving.
the information.
So you're moving 2 and 3,
We keep 1 and 4.
and you move 2 and 3.
Remove 2 and 3 for now. Yes.
Yeah. So remove 2 and 3. Councillor Tysus, you're the seconder. So if we could do that, please. Remove 2 and 3. Are you happy with that, Councillor Goodwin? Right. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Statham.
Regardless of the season, the weather, whatever, I think the sooner we have an information site, a meeting on a site that can be catered for in terms of all those people. We need to see if there's a majority of people that don't want them. The majority of people, certainly in the Rydal, Sunny Corner, Meadow Flat, Tara, all those people in Mount Lambie, they all don't want them. Of course they don't. But it's infiltrating Lithgow seriously after our last meeting. So I think it needs to be open to the public, and we don't want people there causing trouble. We want people helping us try and decide a way through.
Thank you, Councillor Statham. Your comments are quite valid. If there's any further debate on this matter, councillors? No? Happy for me to put it, Councillor Fredericks, or would you like to write a reply? You right?
Quickly, I did attend the Portland committee meeting. As you know, upstairs it was quite packed. I'm pretty sure there's one on the 11th of May at Tarana, or is it the 10th? On the 10th at Tarana at 11 a.m. at Tarana Pub. I do encourage all councillors to at least make the effort to attend and actually look at the evidence and the information that will be supplied, and do what I did, go home and do the deep dive. And I think a lot of minds will be very concerned about what you do find.
Thank you. And Tarana always puts on a great lunch. Okay. All right. I'll put that to you. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you. Division. Please raise your hand. Division's called. Councillor Statham, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Evangelidis, Councillor Ring, Councillor Smith, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Fredericks, Councillor Tysus, Councillor Coleman. The matter's carried. Thank you.
Unanimous.
2.4. I need a mover and a second, please.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Do I have a second? Councillor Marnie. If there's no debate, I'll put that. Wait till Councillor Frederick gets back to a seat, if that's okay. All those in favour? All those against? Call the division. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Statham, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Evangelidis, Councillor Ring, Councillor Smith, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Coleman. All those against? Councillor Fredericks, Councillor Tysus. The matter's been carried. Thank you. Sorry? Yeah, I did say against, Councillor Tysus. 2.5. Councillor Fredericks, do you have a seconder? Councillor Tysus, could you please read out your recommendation and speak to it?
All right. My recommendation is that council in urgent and life-saving situations extend on request their CCTV visual coverage to search organisations such as Search Dogs Sydney without the need for a GIPA application and related fee costs. Just to give a quick background of it, Chris Darcy, the head of Search Dogs Sydney, did contact me and asked what our policy was in regards to council CCTV footage, as they were currently on a search in, I think it was Camden, looking for a missing person, and they approached the Camden Council to see if they could access some of the footage because that was a place that person was known to have been. They were told, no, you have to lodge a GIPA and have fees. Add the fees to it, and it could be a 28-day wait. I would appreciate it if our council, since Search Dog Sydney are looking at moving a base in Lithgow before branching out to the Central West, if they could be included in our procedures to be able to access that kind of evidence and information quickly in extenuating circumstances such as missing or type of person situations. Because let's face facts, we have got a very restricted police force at the moment. They're overworked, understaffed. Our volunteers, we're losing volunteers every year. So the more registered organisations we have that have access to this, it could be the difference between someone being found and alive and well and someone having to find the families later on and say we found them but you can't have them home.
Thank you, Councillor Frederick. Councillor Tysos? Further debate? Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you, ma'am. Most of these organisations will already have access to council-owned CCTV footage.
Which is why I've changed the recommendation.
Councillor Fredericks, if we could just let Councillor Goodwin finish what he was saying and then happy to come back. Yep.
Okay. Police are the agency that will usually seek footage to any of those offences if it's been changed. But all of these kinds, if there is an investigation, CCTV would be requested by police. If police wish to release that, then they would hold the investigation. If police wish to receive it, release the footage, they'll do so in a thoughtful and considered thought process. A thorough and considered thought process, because there is methodology in the way police may use CCTV footage when releasing CCTV footage to people or organisations. It may affect the outcome of an investigation. So I don't believe that. I won't be supporting a non because of that. And also, I haven't touched either on the privacy issues as well. So the other thing I wanted to ask is Search Dogs Australia State Rescue Board accredited?
The only issue they've had with becoming state board accredited is they are not state or federal government funded. So that is an issue that they are trying to rectify at the moment, but they are a registered missing persons organisation.
Certainly understand that, but I can't support it if it's not state board accredited. If they have that state board accreditation, I'm sure that the police, if they have an investigation and need to release it to them, they certainly would in an investigation where people's lives are at risk.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Ring.
Yep, if I could, a question for you to Councillor Fredericks. In discussing this issue with Sydney Search Dogs, did they discuss their ability or capacity to comply with Part 3 data sharing safeguards under the Data Sharing Act? Okay. As has been stated, they're not an accredited rescue unit. In their mission statement, they state, our mission is to provide and promote search and rescue and recovery canines and handlers as a local resource in New South Wales to law enforcement, emergency management agency and the community in the event of an emergency. In the case of missing people, it is the police that take the lead. I'm happy to be corrected by Councillor Goodwin, but the police take the lead. They're the lead agency. They get the CCTV. I can't support this. I can't see any legitimate reason for this group to need it. It's not their role. These are police-led issues, and I'm not going to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Any further debate on this matter? Councillor Marnie?
I'm not in a position to support this either. I'm listening to the two councillors speak. We've got a number of both social settings. I'm not sure the timeframes of CCTV that will be released. I listen carefully what you're saying, Councillor Ring, as far as being able to manage all of the information that's provided. And I've also listened to Councillor Goodwin, obviously with significant experience and understanding of who are the lead agencies in this. So I'm going to be guided by that, and unfortunately I won't be able to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Any further debate before I come back to, Councillor Statham?
As much as I think it's a creditable notice of motion in terms of looking after stray dogs or whatever from the pound or whatever, it's no different to looking after, whether it be other animals or whatever. But if the ruling doesn't come into account that it is legal, until it becomes legal, it's very hard for us to accept it because we know that it possibly won't get, good reviews, so to speak. So I think that we need to, I think Councillor Frederick probably needs to try and encourage them to get whatever is required of them so then that it can be rethought. But as far as the CCT footage on the new swings at Portland down at Savile Park, I beg you to think about in the new budgets and lighting down there. We're sick and tired of paying on tidy towns for them to be redone.
Point of order.
We need to
It's off
speak.
topic.
Councillor
It's important.
Statham, thank you for your commentary. It's noted. And you can speak about that in the budget if you like. We have that coming up. So I would ask you if you could speak then about it. If there's no further debate, Councillor Fredericks, I'll write a reply if you like.
No, like I said, I fully appreciate all the councillors inputting this. It's a situation that I'm a little bit out of my depth. I was just asked if I could bring this forward. And like I said, it's been covered and I really do appreciate the other councillors' input.
Thank you, Councillor Frederick. I'll put that. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that lost. (2.6) Councillor Tysus, do you have a seconder? Let's start there.
Pardon me, Mayor. The recommendation is that council note the draft delegations register will be put to council for endorsement in May or June 2024.
Thank you.
2025.
So, seconder, please. Councillor Goodwin. Okay, if you'd like to speak to that recommendation, Councillor Tyson.
No, I don't have to, Mayor. The motion set it out. The clarification was achieved as to what it meant, and there is a new process coming up which is being reviewed within the 12 months, and I'm awaiting for that in May or June. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tyson. Councillor Goodwin.
No, I don't.
You're right. Any further debate on this matter? I'll put that to, unless you want right to reply, but there's nothing to reply to. So, all those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you. 2.7, Councillor Evangelides, Lithgow Tourist Brand. Councillor, do you have a seconder? Councillor Evangelides, who's going to...
I'll second it for the purpose of debate. I don't support it, but I will second it.
That's great. So, Councillor Evangelides, please read out your recommendation and then your commentary. Thank you.
Okay, my recommendation was, sorry, I'm a little wrong page in front of me. Recommendation that Lithgow needs to be placed with 7V or 7 Valleys or any other future tourism rebrand. For example, Lithgow 7V. Nor 7V nor the 7 Valleys should be appear on its own without Lithgow in the title. And can I speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, okay. So on April the 9th, I noticed that tourism had started using the 7V branding, which I thought we had already discussed back in January. Anyway, I spoke about it at length back then, but I'll just make a few extra points. Firstly, places like the Hunter Valley, named after the Hunter River, the Blue Mountains, the Southern Highlands, these places have been referred to in that way for a couple of 100 years. I'm not sure if I want to wait that long for the 7V to take off. The new branding is bold and striking. Whether I personally like it or not is not the point. It's whether or not we can bring it to market in an effective way. It costs money to tell a story. 100 to 150 grand is what a good Sydney restaurant might allocate for advertising, sort of 10% of their earnings. But a tourism campaign for a whole region, we need 10 times that amount in order to give this rebrand a chance. We simply don't have the budget. Putting Lithgow in front of the branding, Lithgow 7V, still sparks curiosity and at least gives a reference to a location, a starting point. Is Lithgow doing its own energy drink? What's this about? But at least it's a starting point. But honestly, I mean, Rich Evans, who I respect greatly, the reality is Portland has a champion in the foundations. Well, Lurwang has a champion in Green Spot. Well, what does Lithgow have? We have the majority of the businesses, we have the majority of the people, but I understand their reasoning for not wanting to be associated with Lithgow. It's obvious. They've got stuff to sell. But what about Lithgow? Who's championing Lithgow? This doesn't. We don't have separate budgets. One to promote Lithgow, one to promote 7V or Seven Valleys. It's one budget. I mean, maybe we should give 7V a go, like we did for Seven Valleys the last 3 years. So, councillors, don't support my motion, and let's see what happens. I respect the outcome; it's fine, but I just want to make it really clear that I know the reality of branding and the cost of a successful campaign. So go for whatever you think, but I can't walk away from something I know that we don't have the budget to bring 7V to market. Lithgow 7V at least satisfies a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evangelides. Councillor Ring?
Mayor, yeah, I've got a bit of a quandary. I wanted to move an amendment. Is there any reason, since I said I only second this for the purpose of the debate, that I can't move an amendment in the code of meeting practice?
Yeah, so you've seconded, so you have to. Yeah.
No, I don't believe there is.
No. Look, you've seconded, but you can. So we don't make it messy, I will second Councillor Evangelides.
Okay.
Second it.
Yeah,
I'll second it. So that means that it's still. Yeah. And Councillor Ring, you can now move it because I'll.
I think it's more appropriate if somebody from the councillors recommend and second it. Ms.
I'm entitled to second something for the purpose of the debate, Councillor Statham.
Which is why I did, because no one's put their hand up.
I will second it for the purpose of debate. Councillor Ring wants to do an amendment. You can move an amendment.
The amendment I'd like to put forward is that all councillors provided with a briefing on the draft Seven Valleys Place branding and marketing strategy at an information session prior to it being brought to a council meeting for adoption.
Is there a seconder to your amendment? Or we would like to put it up. Councillor Fredericks is going to second that.
Okay. I'll wait. Okay, it's up. Good. The only use that I've found for 7V image is for profile picture of the Seven Valleys Facebook page. It hardly, to me, constitutes a breach of the first two council resolutions referenced in this NOM. It's a simple logo design, going to be approved on probably, it's not my area, but it's definitely not the finished product. Now, Councillor Evangelides was talking about, Portland and Wang don't want to be associated with Lithgow. I'm afraid that the outlying areas see Lithgow as a council for many decades being Lithgow-centric. It's got the population base. And for many people outside of Lithgow, they see this as a positive move. Now, I haven't seen the final product. I don't know if I like it or don't like it. But when this profile picture came up on Facebook, you can see the usual people talking about Seven Valleys and it's Lithgow. It's always got to be Lithgow, I'm sorry, but it's the whole LGA. We go from Clarence and Dargan out to Bogey, Tarrana, Kanimbla, Megalong. It's a large area. And some of the comments in relation to that profile pic were, remember guys, the logo doesn't have to be over complicated, think Nike, Apple, McDonald's, but it's what they do with it that matters in the subsequent sales and marketing campaign. I'm giving Seven Valleys time. Positioning the region as a whole rather than focusing solely on Lithgow as a single destination feels like a smart and inclusive move. It reminds me a bit of the Hunter Valley has successfully established itself as a broader destination with something for everyone. Whomever put this up, thank you for spreading the word about our wonderful valleys. Look, there is support out there. One of it was, social media profile pic icon is not a logo. The logo is not a brand. So we need to see the finished product and make an informed decision. And I'm sure Councillor Evangelides has had experience and understands the marketing requirements. I've had limited marketing experience for national parks, but I have had some. But I'd rather wait and see the finished product before making a final decision. We've invested considerable money into this project, And I'd like to see the full finished product in front of us before a decision is made one way or the other. Thank you.
Councillor Frederick seconded.
Well, we've seen the rough drafts of it all. It's not just going to be 7V splashed everywhere. If there's a 7V at the entrance of the town, it's going to have the town's name in the 7. So you know what? There's Lithgow. And when you go out to enter into Willarrawang, it's going to have Willarrawang on the 7. When you go to enter out to Portland, it's going to have Portland on the 7. If you decide to go out towards Clarence, it's going to have Clarence written on the 7. Decide to go out to Cullen, it's going to have Cullen Bullen on the 7. This is just literally a way of getting all the villages and the valleys and all the towns and all the suburbs to be under one banner without any particular town taking priority. Lithgow hasn't got a great image. We're the dusty coal mining town, and if you Google us on Facebook or Google us on Google, it's trucky wearing thong and Ugg boot smokos. Like, that is the description that we have on Wikipedia. So, you know what? Let's give something else a go. It's the 21st century. We're not stuck in the 1950s anymore.
Thank you, Councillor Fredericks. I'll come to Councillor Smith.
I've got to support Tom on Councillor Evangelides on this. I think it's the most rubbish looking thing I've ever seen in my life. And honestly, and I do think we are the Lithgow LGA, regardless, we can say Wayne Portland, whatever. Rich Evans says, Hunter Valley, we don't put Singleton. Everybody knows the Hunter Valley. Sunshine Coast, we don't put Maroochydore. Everybody knows Sunshine Coast. Katoomba, same thing, Blue Mountains. Everybody knows those areas. They don't know Seven Valleys. It might take time to do it, but probably the Seven Valley concept is not such a bad idea. And may I suggest also, will this go back to the Seven Valleys Committee to be discussed as well?
That's a good question. My understanding is going to the Tourist Committee on the 30th of April. Is that correct? Can someone answer? Can you please answer the councillor?
Through yourself, Mayor. Yes, that is correct. There is a tourism, Seven Valleys Tourism Committee meeting, which is the council committee for tourism, scheduled for Wednesday this week. It had to be rescheduled. It was going to be due to be scheduled before the meeting, before this council meeting, had to be rescheduled. And so there is the initial outline, as Councillor Fredericks mentioned before, with some of the initial concept creative that will be presented, and then there will be any commentary taken from that further to refine. The branding guidelines have been worked through in the interim following council accepting and taking on the general Seven Valleys approach in the January council meeting. So that's been worked through. No program has been taken to market yet. And I understand, yes, that one image did go up on social media as has occurred, although it wasn't taken to market. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. That's lovely. You get a right reply. Well, actually, no, we're in an amendment. So, yes, you can speak on the amendment, Councillor Evangelides. Sorry.
Let's not beat around the bush. I don't want to support the amendment. Let's just decide tonight whether we want Lithgow 7V, Lithgow included or not. Because the longer we hold it back, the less we're doing. Like, let's just decide tonight. If you don't want Lithgow in the title, fine. But let's just decide tonight. That way we can just get moving with it.
Thank you.
So I won't support the amendment.
Okay, great. Further debate, Councillor Tysus?
I've got a question. How much have we got in the budget from the 1st of July for 25, 26 for the Seven Valleys? I know we've got the other one coming up later, but is there some sort of figure as to how much we're expecting to put towards this process in the next financial year?
That's a very good question. Can I have someone answer that, please?
Through yourself, Mayor. Yes, the budget being worked through for next year currently has $80,000, and also the general council allocation for tourism. That $80,000 is specific for Seven Valleys website design at this time. And then there is current allocations for general council tourism activity, which includes marketing, which is carried across. So there's still some work being done this financial year with that program as well.
Does that suffice, Councillor Tysers?
Apart from the website, how much are we then going to spend as well? Because the website's just the website. So.
That is correct. So there is a marketing plan that has been put forward to council for the full implementation that has different stages over a 3-year period, worked out and identified through it. So that program is quite extensive and funding for it is not fully identified yet.
Thank you. Councillor Tysers? Any further debate?
I just wanted to ask a question following on.
Councillor Marnie's had his hand up, so I know you can ask your question. Well, he's been a gentleman, so you can ask your question.
Thank you, sir. With the marketing strategy and over 3 years, what financial input are we looking for from the tourism sector? Because it's not our role to promote purely on behalf of businesses. Businesses need to contribute. So what work's being done to get them to buy in to this project?
Through South Mayor. So the first piece of work that's been worked on is reinvigorating the Seven Valleys tourism collective, where businesses over past years have paid an annual fee to be affiliated with the Seven Valleys program managed by council. Now, that primarily gave businesses a space in the hard copy Seven Valleys promotional brochure that was distributed through visitor information centres across the state, and also on website. Increasingly, the digital presence on websites or social media is taking prominence over the hard print pamphlet distribution. So there's that piece. So it's reconfirming that. One of the issues that we do have is to engage with business and get business buy-in effectively. Also means to have a good product that's well established and able to generate the level of interest that businesses would want to be getting their return on investment from. Now, as has been mentioned a number of times in the past few minutes, the cost of running a program for extensive and good marketing is prohibitive for many of the businesses in our LGA, given the low level of tourism business maturity that we have. Now, we're not a large provider of tourism bodies, tourism businesses, like some of the strong LGAs that have a much larger tourism component to their economic activity. For example, Blue Mountains, Byron Bay, and the like. So that's one of the elements that council will more than likely be brought back to, is what level of investment council is prepared to put in place in the program in conjunction with businesses and what we would be expecting from businesses as well. That's probably the more appropriate way to mention where we'd be going without specifically identifying a financial cost per business or the size of the income related to a business.
Thank you.
Thank you for your succinct.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Then I'll come to you, Councillor Statham. Councillor Marnie.
Very good point you make, Mr. Elwood. There are different tourism sectors that do have high income into their businesses. I can only look to the east and know one probably in our area that really generates a decent income, but it all can't fall onto those people. Look, I understand where Councillor Evangelides and also Councillor Smith are going with the 7V logo. They're both speaking to me some length about it from time to time during its development. I'm watching what the Seven Valleys, as it's appearing in the imagery when I go onto the web, and it's a different thing. I came here 25 years to Lithgow. I love the joint. I'm very grateful to live here. I actually find it a very attractive place to live. I missed the memo on the dress code, but I'll try and tidy that up going into the winter. But I arrived through places like Taranah and Rydal and Evans Crown and Nunes Plateau. It was all those places that drew me to Lithgow. And Lake Lyle, Lake Wallace. Like, they're all very importantly, and people have spoken to this, that we need to be elevating those places. And certainly when my overseas visitors, the first place I go to is Portland for its architectural, end up in the Capity Valley for what is a fantastic landscape. We're now got an emerging Gardens of Stone, which is just fantastic as far as nature-based rec and tourism. So they're the things that drew me to Lithgow before work brought me here. So I'm willing to give people time and to work through this process. I've just opened up with a very simple Google search, and I've got a page full of images that would have drawn me here as a 30-year-old to come down and spend time here. So I'll give them time to work their way through it.
Thank you, Councillor Marty. Councillor Statham.
There's been so much discussion. Could you please read out Councillor Ring's...
Councillor Ring, would you like to read out your amendment, if
Yes,
that's okay?
That all councillors are provided with a briefing on the draft Seven Valleys place branding and marketing strategy at an information session prior to it being brought to council meeting for adoption.
So are you happy with that, Councillor Statham? Was there any questions regarding that? Did you want to speak on that?
Yes, I will. First of all, I had a call early this morning from a resident of Palmerzoki, and he saw this on the agenda tonight, and he said they are the 8th Valley, and why were they missed? Putting that aside, I think there's a lot of good discussion on both sides, but at the end of the day, Councillor Marnie, I don't know quite what was wrong with your dress code tonight. You have nicely cut hair, a suit and a tie on.
Needs to improve.
All right. Let's stay.
This is such a serious conversation because it's for the future. I certainly don't like 7B and nothing else. I think that's just ridiculous. I'm sorry if I offend anyone. However, I liked Councillor Frederick's idea where you have Wallerawang 7B. People might think it's a beer at the pub, I don't know. But just to have 7B in any way whatsoever on its own is not enticing for our local government area. That is very rural. We are not Balmain. We are not Newtown. We want something sustainable that farmers look at, coal miners look at, families and children look at. And certainly I have had some bashings over 7B. So I'd be okay with it if it had the name of the town, perhaps, with it. But then you've got to put 8 because the people are not 7, it's 8 valleys. And the other thing is, I think that we need to be proud of what we're saying. And if you say you're going to 7B, well, they're going to ask, where are you going, to the moon or somewhere? It's just not right for our area. I'm not saying it wouldn't be great for some other country area, but we are country and rural regional, and I can't see for 1 minute. And I do agree, I couldn't agree with the leaving it to wait, but how long are we going to wait? I think we've got to be really sensible here. We don't want to wait another 6 months.
So, Councillor Statham, where the amendment's about an information session, and you'll be able to raise all that again. So keep all those thoughts, because I think they're very valid. So that's what the amendment's about. The amendment's about an information session prior to being brought to council meeting for adoption, and I think your commentary is very valid.
Before I say anything else, may I ask the 2 councillors that have showed interest in not voting for the 7B at the moment?
Well, we haven't voted on anything. We're just
well,
about.
I'm quite sure we can tell by the feedback.
Well, we'll have to go through procedure.
Right.
Just to put, if there's no further commentary, unless Councillor Goodwin, I know that you wanted to say something. I can see you. Please do.
I was only going to say, considering all of the commentary from everybody, I think that we really should be sitting down and having a information session on it. If you were to ask me tonight, I wouldn't vote for the motion, but after the information, I'll vote for the amendment. Might change my mind.
Sure, not a problem.
I've got a mayor, if I may.
Sure, and then I'll put the amendment.
When we have this information session, if that's what we're going to do, can we get the budget there? Because the way it's looking at the moment for next year, we can afford the 7V, but we can't afford the Lithgow, the Wang, the Cullenbullen, or every other name. So we need to find out whether we can afford to have both or not both.
We'll have. So we've taken that on board to bring the budget forward at that information session. That's been noted. I'm going to put the amendment. All those in favour of the amendment? All those against? Declare that carried. The amendment now becomes the motion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you. 2.8, Councillor Ray Smith. Can you please, is there a seconder? Councillor Marnie, please read your recommendation and speak to it.
This is going to impress all. I believe, honestly, that the way the meetings have been, actually the agenda of the meetings has actually been running into the late hours, which is not really impressing a lot of people. I think if you look at your watches now, it's probably about 8:30, and we've only done about half a dozen issues. Now, I'd like to see, really, before we start moving on to all these new issues, I'd prefer to see the old issues from the previous meetings or meeting be dealt with first, so that we know what delegate committee meetings, whatever comes in from the council administration stuff, all read out first and covered before we start moving on to the new business. If we can do that, we might get a better sounding of what we're sort of learning in council here, because there's a lot of things that I feel are going through to the keeper as far as I'm concerned, because every time it gets towards midnight, everybody's worrying about turning into pumpkins and they want to go to bed. So I think the situation should be that we should try and sort of modify or streamline our meetings a bit better, so that we're not rushing through probably some of the most important stuff that I find that I need to know as being a councillor. And when you're voting things in block or moving them forward or moving them back, it does tend to get a little bit confusing. Now, that's up to you, the individuals here, to work that one out. But this could be easier on the staff, the admin, the councillors and everybody in general, that we have some sort of alteration in the agenda. And my idea is to have those reports in first and do all our new business, new notice of motions and etc. towards the back end. And if we can seriously look at how we actually do some of those nominations and have them more refined when we do move in, our council meetings might not be extended to the periods that they have been of late. Now, I don't know what time we'll get out of here tonight, because we're now on page 17 out of 71. So if this is the sort of meetings we're going to have for the next 3.5 years, I'd say we better start bringing our sleeping blankets. I just believe that we need to have the agenda reformed to hopefully make the meetings move on a lot quicker.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Marnie?
I'll just speak briefly to this, Mayor. Look, I can't in any way say that I haven't brought notices of motion to the previous term or this term. I have on both occasions. I respect Councillor Smith's new view on the council. I've been watching this council for about 20 years. And whilst Councillor Smith's looking at how we're going about doing our business, and what I do agree with Councillor Smith is we've got to ensure that the business of council is functioning from month to month. So that's a critical part. I do like to review carefully the administration reports. I think we've got a requirement from an accountability, a transparency issue within our community to have looked at what is, when I flick through the pages from here, there's several $1 million of expenditure which we're going to endorse. And I'd rather not endorse that without an option if there's a question to be asked. I think it's important to good governance and it's important to oversight, and there's some prominent conversations in the community around ours or previous council's ability to deliver on good governance and oversight. So I'm quite supportive of what Councillor Smith's trying to achieve. I'm happy to hold my notices of motion back. I'm happy to consider when there's options to bring them through staff through other pathways. I appreciate that the council has made the timing of committees more frequent. So there's lots of opportunity to do a lot of business of council in committees and bring it back to the council. It's important that the councillors are advised if there are matters that have been raised in committees that they're not participating in, rather than we endorse them in block. So I'm happy to support Councillor Smith's notice of motion.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Ring?
When Councillor Tyso spoke about getting the pumped hydro and energy for waste off our books, it was to focus on the work of council. The work of council are the administrative reports, basically. I think we need to deal with those first. I mean, having noms at the end, it's still going to make long meetings. That's not necessarily going to shorten the meetings. But at least when we're dealing with the key issues, we'll be alert rather than tired. And if we get to the noms at the end, unless they're really critical, then they can always be deferred to an extraordinary meeting or to the next meeting. I have no problem with extraordinary meetings, rather than staying here to midnight. And after this, I've got a couple of procedural motions to do some exceptions.
Well, thank you. I'd just like one change, which is, can we remove, if you would be acceptable, Councillor Smith, if we remove point 6, acknowledgement and commemorations. Look, you know, acknowledgement and commemorations has been used time and time again in different ways, but I believe it's not necessary any longer. I think that it could be, we can, you know, a mayoral minute can be done, a notice of motion can be put forward. You know, generally by the time we acknowledge those who have passed on, everybody's aware of it anyway. So I'm wondering if you'll be happy to remove point 6.
A point of order, Mayor.
Yes.
That's in the code of meeting practice. It's been in for a number of years. It takes, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes at a time?
That's fine, Councillor Tyson.
I don't think that's not
fine.
going to save any time at all.
Well, I was just looking at some time, but that's fine. I'll acknowledge that. The new code of meeting practice is coming through in a couple of months anyway, and it's not actually included, so I'll wait till then, and we'll leave it as is.
Just one question, Mayor Coleman. Matters of great urgency?
Still in there, number 16 is recommended.
Yes, I realise it's still in here. Oh, sorry, yes. Okay,
yeah, it's still there, Councillor Statham.
Speak against it, Mayor.
Okay, would you like to speak against it, Councillor Tyson?
Yeah, thank you. Mayor, there's nothing wrong with what's going on at the moment. I mean, you're having one meeting a month. Last meeting was 5 weeks ago, I think. So what if it goes to midnight? A lot of councils go longer because they've got 600 pages to go through. Some of them start in the afternoon. Some of them start in the morning and go all afternoon. That's the way the business is. If we want to have a meeting during the day, well, so be it. But if you were doing it during the day, you'd be going right through the day until it was finished. The fact that we choose to do it at 6:30 of a night is the fact that whatever you end up with. There's no, as Councillor Ring said, you still have the notice of motion, but you're going to put them all at the end of the meeting at 10 o'clock when everyone's left the people that have got interest in notices of motion, which is half the reason why we bring them here, because of representations from the community. So, and there's, as indicated in the thing, that if required, there's provision to move issues forward by way of a procedural motion. There's also a procedural motion that move them to the back. So I think the code of meeting practice doesn't need to be changed, and nor does this. So I'd be voting against it.
Thank you, Councillor Tyson. Any further debate? Councillor Statham?
In relation to the last meeting, it was pretty ridiculous getting home at 1:10 in the next morning, I must say. However, I believe that night, I think it was that meeting, that there was a section of things all bundled together at the 11th hour. Now, I don't even know, I didn't read the minutes of the previous meeting, but are all those reports minuted? How there was a bundle of things?
Yeah, we move by exception. So it's a move by exception, which means you move business.
I
by
realise
exception.
that,
Yeah.
but are they in the minutes?
Yes,
Exactly
it is,
Good. Thank you.
Councillor Statham.
The other thing is, I really don't think, as much as it's all right for people that live in town, getting home at 1 o'clock, it's not really, because you can't concentrate. Doesn't matter who you are. I agree with Councillor Smith that we need to think seriously of a professional way to run a meeting. And also, most importantly, other councillors look at our meetings and other councillors absolutely think it's a circus. And that's not offending the people up there. I could name them. And if you want me to, I will. But I prefer not to. But they're councillors on Bathurst Council, as well as other people, investors up there. They watch the other meeting thinking they're going to come to Lithgow for an investment. The wind farms have turned them off, number one, but also the length of the meetings. They're business people and they're going to come round into Donald Street. Now, the main thing here is that everybody gets a chance to debate. That is very vital to any meeting. But I think to have 17 items, we're Lithgow local government area. We're not Bankstown or Parramatta. Bathurst take up to half an hour to have their meeting. They have a meeting before the meeting. We have an information session, but we're not told what to do or how to do it. And that's a good idea. But I think at the moment, to get home here after 10:30 at night, if we can't leave here at 10:30 at night and have a very powerful, debating, good meeting, there's something wrong. We start now at 6:30 instead of 7. So I've never been in a meeting at 1 o'clock in the morning when you get out of the meeting and get back to Portland. So we have to think of people that are on shift work, like, for instance, Councillor Goodwin, and people that don't work and don't have to get up in the morning at 6 o'clock. Well, that must hurt them. If they don't work, they're fine. But the other people that need to get up early and start work again early the next morning, we have to consider the staff that put all the work in and the amounts of notices of motion. I have got tell you how many councils and ex-mayors think it's ridiculous. And I don't want to offend anyone here, but one ex-general manager who has a very high ranking said in all the years, over 40 years, he's never had a notice of motion in his 38 years on council. So notices of motion are great, but they also give an opportunity for people to go and speak to the member of that team that are on the bench now. Every one of these great staff members, you can go up and give them a ring or contact them via email, text or phone and discuss the matter, and you get one-on-one information. So it's not a whole group of people asking you a question, it's one. So I don't know why we can't make it more viable so we get maybe 9 notices of motion at a meeting, not 10 or 12 or 14 like there was once. It's not professional.
Thank you, Councillor Statham. Any further debate? Because I'd just like to speak. If Councillor Goodwin, you'd like to speak, please.
Yeah, yes, Mayor Coleman. Right in our very first meeting, I think it was, that I moved for a time limit on meetings. I moved that meetings go until 10 o'clock, and then we flagged that at 10 o'clock that we've got half an hour to go, and we move all the more important parts of the business meeting forward. Obviously, that was voted down. I'm not in favour of having meetings right up until 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is. I think if I would support this purely for the fact that we can move notices of if notices of motion come up, we can move them to another meeting if they're not urgent, and if they are, we can move them to a business of great urgency if the meetings are going to go on longer. There was talk that that when the meeting was getting to a certain time that we could move to defer the meeting to another to an information session, but that hasn't never been done.
Great, thank you. It's really important that we get the business of council done first. Notice of motions can be moved forward if people happen to attend the public forum in regards to that specific notice of motion. The Office of Local Government has provided advice that best practice is that we deal with the business of council first, and we need to be alert, we need to be conscious in regards to dealing with the business of council because it needs greater oversight. So I will be supporting this because that's what we're here for. We're here to ensure oversight. If there's no further debate, I'll give Brad a reply.
I've got a question there.
Sure.
We've just taken nearly 17 minutes to debate whether we're going to move this. and you're talking about delays. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We've just spent 17 minutes on debating whether we're going to delay about the extensive meetings on one issue.
Councillor Smith, you've got right to reply.
I want to make a point clear here. This is not to actually stifle debate, nor all the opportunity of making amendments or discourage anything as far as how council operates. And the council is operating debate and stuff. I really want to see, I'd like to see personally that everything comes in a lot clearer and sharper and streamlined so that we can actually have a good serious talk about how we go about things. Now, Councillor Ticehurst just said we've taken 17 minutes to do this. Well, I'd like to see that all the other issues were also timed, because I think they would have taken a hell of a lot longer than what this one has. This one is to try and improve the time frame, to decrease the time we spend here. It's not meant to try and increase it. And as been said, the procedural motions can move forward. If it's a matter of urgency, it can move into another area. If it's something else, it can be referred to or deferred to the next meeting. There's ways around this to sort of make this a little bit better for everybody concerned. I'm not just talking about councillors, I'm talking about staff and talking about the administration alike. Everybody's affected in the same way. We want to be able to be clear of mind to make clear, good decisions. When it's getting towards 12 o'clock, everybody just wants to get out of the place and they're not interested anymore. Either we stay here and we decide to stay here and sort them out properly, or we have a second meeting to sort them out properly, because I believe they haven't been addressed properly. And I think some of those issues could even be brought back and be reviewed.
Thank you. I'll put that. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you. We are now at staff reports. I can recommend that we move by exception, and I can suggest that we move 3.1, 3.8, 4.1, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5 and 4.6. So, but 4.6 is 4.6 is the Environmental Advisory Committee minutes. So I'm not quite sure if Councillor Marnie would like to do that. So if Councillor?
Can I ask a favour if we can take a 10-minute break to digest this?
Yeah. So why don't we adjourn for 10 minutes, look at the reports. If you want to move by exception, we can, and come back. 10 minutes, Councillor. Are you moving that way, Councillor Goodwin? Can I have a second for that, Councillor Marnie? No opposition, that's carried. Please come back in 10 minutes. But look at the reports and we can move by exception.
Indeed. Mayor Coleman, well, I move that we go back into. Can I? Yeah, go. Yeah, just that we bring 3.5 forward. Just we got the property owners here, so we can deal with that and move on to our. Yep.
Before we do that, can we deal with the procedural motion that you put up before we went to coffee about moving a number of items by exception?
Just to release them and let them go home. I'm happy to move the recommendations, given that we gave this extensive discussion at the previous meeting. So I'm happy to move the recommendations. No, I'm happy with the. I've read the council staff conditions, and I'm happy with those.
Thank you. I didn't have my mic. So, Councillor Marnie, you're moving that. Councillor Fredericks, you're second. You're happy with the recommendation in the paper. So, are you, Councillor Fredericks, or were you wish to speak to it?
We've already debated it previously, so
Happy to. Okay. So, if that's the case, is there any further debate on this issue, Councillor Ring?
I just want to state I didn't support it last time it came to council. I'll be standing by that decision this time.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Any further debate on this matter? No. I'll put that. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Yes, it does. Thank you, Councillor Fredericks. A division is to be called. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Statham, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Evangelides, Councillor Smith, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Fredericks, Councillor Tysus, Councillor Coleman. Those against? Councillor Ring. The matter's carried. Thank you, councillors. All right. So, is there an option to move by exception, councillors?
Yes.
I'm happy to do it.
I'm happy to do it as well.
Okay, so Councillor Goodwin, what would you like to move by exception?
Yeah, I'm happy to move 3.1, 3.8, 4.1, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5 and 4.6 altogether by exception. I've had a chance to have a look what they are. They're mostly committee meetings, expenses, council expenses, just the policy, proposed, financial assistance for sporting representatives, which we dealt with at the Sports Advisory Committee meeting, and the rest are committee meetings. So I'm happy to move those.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Before I move to Councillor Ring, who's seconded that, did you get all of that for the minute taker? Yes, that's really important. Councillor Ring, you're happy to second that?
Yeah, I'm happy. I don't need to say anything.
Yeah, okay. Have we got them all written down so all the councillors know? Yeah, we need, yeah, that's right. All good. Just waiting for. So Councillor Goodwin moved it. Councillor Ring has seconded it. If we can get them all up, we know where we're at.
Mayor Coleman, perhaps going into the next meeting, if we can work out a process.
Yeah, I'll take that on board.
There is an item I'd like to speak to.
Which is what? It's
3.4.
3. It's not in the list. It's not on the list, Councillor Marnie.
Okay.
Starting 3.1, 3.8, 4.1, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5 and 4.6. Is that correct, Councillor Goodwin and Councillor Ring?
Yeah, that appears to be correct.
Yes.
That's correct. If there's no opposition to that, no, that's carried. Okay, now
just quickly, there are comments going on. Can they please be informed the name of the motions that are being moved?
The report. I can tell them the
Just,
report.
yeah, just so that way they know what's going on.
I can
at
tell.
home.
Yeah, not a problem. I can go through it. Can we have that back up? I can't see anything. It's not. It's not. It's gone. No, gone. They're all gone. Okay, so 3.1 was adoption of councillors' expenses and facilities policy, and then we had 3.8 was financial assistance sporting representative. 4.1 was community development minutes. 4.3 was infrastructure committee meeting minutes. 4.4 was the TAF minutes, the 3rd of April 2025. 4.5 was the extraordinary infrastructure committee meeting, the 8th of April 2025. And 4.6 was the environmental advisory committee minutes. Majority of them were minutes. Is that right, Councillor Goodwin?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
they were mainly minutes.
Coleman.
Thank you. Just double checking. That means they've been moved and second. There's no opposition. That has been carried. We now go.
Sorry, Mayor, could I just move a matter arising from the procedural motion? Is that possible? Basically, what I'd like to see is that an email goes out once the papers are released and we've got them. That an email goes out to all councillors asking, are there any items that you would like to treat by exception?
Yep, that's fine. That is a matter arising because we're dealing with exception.
Yep.
So you're moving that?
Yeah, I'm moving
as a
that.
matter arising?
Yeah. So, do you want the words that that administration on release of the business papers emails all councillors seeking their position on items that could be dealt with by exception.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Goodwin? If there's no opposition, that's carried. If you're happy with that. Minute taker got that? Yep. Yep, right. Okay. All right. So, we are up to 3.2. That's my understanding. Investment report, March 2025, page 20. That's for my benefit. Any motions, councillors? We have a recommendation in front of us. What would the council like to do?
Happy to move.
Happy to move?
Happy to second.
Happy to second Councillor Marnie. Councillor Ring?
No, it's a straightforward report. It's quite good. No.
You're happy to do that? Councillor Marnie, hang on, I'll come to you, Councillor. Councillor Marnie, you second it?
Yes, Mayor. Just one comment, page 2171. I think it's a good practice. We're getting into the high value supplier payments, so we're actually saying what the project is and where the income's coming from. I think that's a good addition or a good detail in there, but that's all I've got to say on this.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Fredericks, you were hoping to make a comment?
Just because I am still learning all of this, the high value supplier payments included, and then it's got all those numbers on page 21. I'm just verifying that's all currently in budget, or is that the expected budget?
If you could answer that, please, Mrs. Browning.
Through you, Mayor Coleman, it'll either be in budget or would be as part of a recommendation to council to adjust a variation. The majority would be within budget.
You're happy with that, Councillor Frederick? Yes. Do we have any further debate on this
I've
matter?
got a question, couple of questions, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Tysos.
What are we projecting for these, the end of the 30th of June this year? Are we still projecting a deficit or a surplus?
Mrs. Browning?
Through you, Mayor Coleman, we're just currently considering the March quarterly review at the moment. There's a deficit already projected as part of the December quarterly review that's been reviewed at present, and it will come to council in the meeting for May.
All right. Another question is, with the money that's $33.8 million advance payment balance for natural disaster restoration works, by the time we get around to doing them, with that and spend that $33.8 million, are we likely to incur any additional costs? Because clearly that when the grants were put in, you'd assume that they were on those figures on those days, or were they provided with figures in the grants to that would be somewhere in 12 months or 2 years' time when we finally got around to doing all that work, given the fact that there was so much to do.
Thank you, Councillor Tyson. Can Mr. Edgecombe answer that, or would you like? You can advise. Thank you.
They are paid in advance at a rate of about 20%, then claimed in arrears thereafter. But we're currently advocating for council for an exemption to be applied so that those can be claimed in advance, particularly for the high value projects.
Yeah, but by the time we do them, are we likely to incur extra costs at our own expense?
No, so we're currently including escalation, which is basically CPI increases, the potential for CPI increases into our upper limit estimates so that those costs can be claimed.
All right, and can I get an update on if there's any money still left in investment for the women's shed, or have we spent all that money?
That's a good question. Yeah. Can we have that answered? Do we know?
I can
or we can take it on notice, or what are we doing?
I can take it on notice, but I know that the project has halted at its current stage because the money has been spent. On behalf of the Women's Shed, I applied for a Crown Lands grant to see the rest of the project completed.
Is there any, when you say halted at the moment, where are we up to? It's only got 80% of it done, or 90%, or less, or more, or and how much more do we need to get the job over the line?
Mr. Gurney, can you respond, or you can, Mr. Edgecombe, respond?
Yeah. So the project sits at about 80% complete. It's just the internal fit out that remains. That's what we've applied for, plus some stormwater filtration work. So it's about 350K that we've applied for.
Thank you. And Mr. Gurney would like to make a comment.
Through you, Mayor, just to add, the grant is not to council, it's to the Women's Shed. So we're not holding any funds in reserve. The Women's Shed, as an organisation, are managing the grant funds for that project.
So are we applying for the grant, or they're applying for the grant? Okay. Council's applying for it.
Council has applied for an additional grant.
Yeah.
To support them, my understanding. Thank you. Any further debate on this matter? Councillor?
Not to debate, just a question.
Yes.
Has there been any pursuance of funding through Water New South Wales for stormwater management? Because I understand. Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm just getting nods. So, yep.
All right. If you're happy with that, is there any further debate on this matter? Do you want right to reply, Councillor Ring? Put it? Great. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you. 3.3, is that right? Yep. 3.3, tendering exception for desludging of sewage treatment plants. Not very unattractive name, but page 27. Any motions, councillors?
I'm happy to move it.
I'm happy to second it.
Thank you. So, Councillor Marnie, would you like to speak to this, please?
Only question I ask is whether there's plans in the future to divert surface runoff that's obviously adding volume into this. So if I could ask a question to Councillor, not yet Councillor Trapp, but
Mr. Trapp?
Mr. Trapp.
Mr. Trapp, if you could please.
Through you, Mayor Coleman, yes, there are. Part of our projects in the operational plan for this year was to undertake some feasibility and options assessment work for the sludge and biosolids handling down at the STP. That included looking at feasibility and concept designs of a new lagoon to assist with some storage and better treatment, as well as bunding and the like to remove some of that surface water and retain mainly biosolids.
Does that satisfy you? Great. Okay, thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Ring?
Question for you, Mayor, to not Councillor Trapp. Section 3.5, attachment 3.3 provides 3 solutions to prevent further issues. Could you advise on their status at this point?
Just bring those up. Go get that section again. Sorry, Councillor Ring.
section 3.5.
On each of those solutions within the
Yeah.
well, yes. Sorry. So for those solutions, the solution one, yes, that's something we're looking at the moment. We're working with a contractor and a consultant to look at the optimization of the polymer that we use, as well as some efficiencies that we can gain through our current belt press system. As I said before, the construction of an additional sludge lagoon, which we have slated for in the next financial year as part of the operational plan, which is due for discussion later in this meeting, and another dewatering facility at the Wallarang STP. That's something that we're looking at as part of a short, medium, long-term review of that sewage system, noting the development that may potentially happen in the Wallarang area and what loading that's going to have on the sewage. There may be potential necessity for us to move to another facility or a larger facility to treat these biosolids.
Just one more question, if I may, Mayor.
Yes.
Can we have the management of the sludge brought to the next infrastructure meeting?
Yeah.
It's a very critical issue to talk about.
Are you happy to do that, Mr. Trapp?
I already have it on the agenda. So.
There you go. He's ahead.
Awesome. I've got nothing else to say.
Okay, thank you. Any further debate on this matter?
Just a quick question.
Yes,
to Mr.
Councillor
Trapp as
Goodwin.
well. Just thought of something. Is there any way that that council can make some money out of the sludge, like
Good question.
waste, and turn it into, say, compost or something like that?
Mr. Trapp?
Through you, Mayor Coleman. So that's one of the options that we're certainly looking at the moment. We're going through a process now of trying to follow the EPA's guidelines. They're quite old guidelines as they are, but trying to apply those as best we can in classifying what the biosolids are as an end product, and then how we can improve that so that it becomes a more saleable item. At this stage, it's fine for certain applications like to land or for forestry, things like that. We're trying to look at pretty much a cost benefit on how we can improve the quality of the biosolids we're getting out of the system so that we can make it into a saleable product or something along those lines.
Happy with that, Councillor Goodwin? Great, fabulous. Any further debate on this matter? Would you like right reply, Councillor Money? Would you like me to put it? You happy for me to do that? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you. We now move on to my understanding 3.4. So that's tender evaluation, design and constructions of Sweetbriar sewage pumping station. Do we have any motions, councillors?
Happy to move it.
Happy to move the recommendation?
Again, I'll just speak briefly to it. I think people know my interest in sewer management, but also asset management. The fact that we're bringing 3 assets down into 1 is a significant improvement, and for our long-term asset management, I think that's a great outcome. So just a bit of recognition there for the staff, the work that's being done there.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Ring?
No, not really. I agree with what Councillor Marnie said. It's good to see rationalisation. It's a 3-year program. We finished 26-27, costing around approximately $4 million.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Any further debate on this matter? No? If not, I'll write a reply, Councillor Marnie, but there's nothing to
just one
reply
other
to.
point. I just noted a point Councillor Goodwin made earlier on about the development proposal and the importance of enabling critical infrastructure with traffic lights and things like that. This is another part of that puzzle and making sure we got all those critical infrastructure in place as that section of South Bowenville starts to develop.
Thank you, Councillor Money. I'll put that. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. 3.6, I believe we're up to.
I'll move the recommendation with a 0.4 and a 0.5.
Thank you, Councillor Tysos. That's page 33, councillors. Is there who's your 0.4 and 0.5, councillor?
Yes, 0.4 is the 0.4 is community financial grants be increased by $20,000 to $123,000. The reason for that is so that there is a surplus of $20,000 going forward into that financial year, and it's not finished before we even start the financial year. And the number 5, when they're ready. That first one was community financial grants be increased by $20,000. And number 5 is include a financial cost figure. Include a financial cost figure for the ground maintenance part of the LCC lease with the Lithgow Golf Club Limited. Include a financial cost figure for the ground maintenance part of the LCC lease with the Lithgow Golf Club Limited.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Fredericks, thank you. Councillor Tyson, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I moved 1, 2 and 3. I've got no problems with that, but the council did put in the music in the community program for $20,000 and put it in the financial assistance grants for the community, and that's taken up to the maximum $103,000. I certainly won't be taking the blame for taking the last $20,000, which is the reason for increasing it by what it was originally. You can't accept a program and then use all the money before you even start the financial year, where there'll be nothing for anyone else to, any community group or otherwise, to put in for any other money. So that's the reason for number 4. And I think given the fact that we, in the annual report, indicated how much we paid last year in regards to the Lithgow Golf Club Limited for the maintenance of the club, I think it's incumbent on the council to make sure that the fact that it's in the annual report, then we should be putting it in the this review integrated planning framework moving forward as to how much it's going to cost the council as part of the lease for that 25-26. We don't want any surprises, and we need to know what the figure is, so the community who's going to consider this planning framework will look at the fact that they can have some say in what council wishes to expend on behalf of the maintenance lease in regards to the golf club. I thought there might have been a report coming back tonight on the Lithgow Golf Club, but there's not. So not having that available to me, I think it's incumbent, if we're going to advertise the planning framework and tell people what we're going to charge, what we're going to budget for, that we need to include this as well, given the fact that the last financial year was over $550,000. So we need to know what council's going to do and how much they're going to put towards it. Can I also say, in regards to number 3, closing date for submissions should be, the recommendation I want to change there is to be close of business on Monday the 3rd of June. I don't think we should be closing anything on a Sunday.
I agree.
So I'm looking at if there are submissions, they've got that full Monday to give us their submissions. So close of business on Monday the 3rd of June for that one.
If we could get that changed. Thank you. Councillor Fredericks, do you second this?
Look, it's basic. I think that the changes that have been added are pretty okay.
Okay.
The only other thing that concerns me is, have we got any reports on how much we're looking at to do like Lake Lyle and things like that as well?
I think that'll come forward later.
Yeah.
Unless Mrs. Browning, I know you're busy, but
I just want to make sure that we are accounting for everything. I don't want any of us to get a surprise.
No, that's all right. We can take that on notice if you like, Councillor Fredericks.
No,
at
that's
the
fine.
moment, Mrs. Browning's a bit busy there in the corner. Any further debate on this? Councillor Statham and then Councillor Smith.
Just administration's recommendation that council on number C in section 1, the draft operational plan 2025-26, including the draft revenue policy and draft fees and charges. When will we know exactly what those fees and charges are?
Good question. Can I have an answer? Or do you want to take it on notice? Can you do it now? Just repeat that, please, Councillor Statham.
Well, people have read the business paper, obviously, and contacted me to see what are the draft operational plans for 25-26, including the draft revenue policy and draft fees and charges. When will we know the fees and charges?
Through you, Mayor Coleman. That's attached to this business paper, so that's what will be exhibited.
And is that confidential?
No, it's already there.
The other one was note the proposed changes to the rating structure from the 1st of July to 25 to introduce following business subcategories. So what are those subcategories, please?
So the first one is in relation to power generation storage and wind farms. There's a tweak to the power generation storage, but there's a new subcategory in relation to wind farms, and there's a new subcategory in relation to the Pacific National Site. The Pacific National Site,
yes,
in terms of rail manufacture and storage.
Okay, so is there money put in the budget for wind power generation?
No, not at this stage, because there's no actual application for us to be able to levy at this stage. It's a signal.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
It's a new category.
It's a signal. Yeah.
Any further debate? Councillor Smith.
I'm not quite up to speed with some of this. Does the golf club stuff come into this integrated planning framework? Is that a normal costing of that area, or what?
That's a good question, Mrs. Browning. Could you please answer that?
Through you, Mayor Coleman. It's not typical to report down to that level. It's up to the council how they do that. We are looking to move towards more service-based reporting in future, but we're not at that stage at this point. But it is not typical to report down to that level.
Hang on, Councillor Smith. That's one question. You had another question?
Yeah. So where is it presently standing in the order of business now, financial?
I think Mr. Gurney wants to answer that.
Through you, Mayor. It would be within the maintenance area in the detail of the budget, so it hasn't been reported at any level, which is basically what Mrs. Browning was explaining. It is within the overall materials and contracts area in particular of the budget, but not broken down to any level.
Does that have Councillor Smith? Councillor Ring?
Yep, I'd like a move on the amendment, please.
Sure.
I'd like to revert back to the original recommendation, with the exception that the date be retained as Monday, the 3rd of June.
Thank you. So you're moving that way?
Yep.
Is there a seconder for that?
Monday, 2nd of June.
Yeah. Seconder? Councillor Goodwin?
Yeah. The reasons I'm doing it, because at the meeting of the 24th of February, Resolution 2543 resolved that Council 1 provide for $20,000 to be included in the 2025-26 Lithgow Council budget for consideration in the music in the community program under the Financial Assistance Grants Program, and if successful, develop defined application guidelines for the council. Now that was put in. There was a resolution to specifically take the money from financial grants. Now we're being asked to grab $20,000, which means somewhere else something's not going to get done. Now, I don't know what's not going to get done, and I'm not going to support a recommendation unless there's something to back it up. I'm happy for it to come back to the final meeting or to be put in a submission by Councillor Ticehurst. But at the end of the day, no, I'm not happy. It's not just $20,000 or $10,000 for a program. Whatever we do comes off something else. So we're now asking to take it from somewhere else. I don't know where the staff are going to take it from. I know how much difficulty there has been in working on this budget through the Finance Committee. And as for the line item, the golf club, no, I'm sorry, I don't support that. It is not typical practice. And unless we're going to do a line item for every sporting facility owned by council, and council owns the land at the golf club, unless we're going to do it for every facility, I will not support targeting one group or one venue. It is not procedurally fair.
Well, I don't think there should be.
Councillor Fredericks, please. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ring.
At the end of the day, it is not procedurally fair to target one group. I don't know what the issue is with the golf club. I don't care. but it is not procedurally fair. The pool loses $500,000, and we're going to put the breakdown of that. We're going to put the breakdown of Tony Lee, where I'm sure we lose a hell of a lot of money. We're here to provide services to the community, and I'm not prepared to support it.
Thank you. Councillor Goodwin?
Yeah, Mayor, I was happy with the point. The only point that I wasn't happy with was with the golf course. I think targeting one particular group, I didn't feel like that should be brought into this this integrated plan framework. So I'm not happy with that. So I won't be voting. If that can be taken out, I'd vote for it. But yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Any further debate on the amendment?
Could I get a question answered, please? Sorry about that. Am I correct in understanding that we are already going to look for efficiencies and cost cuts across every program?
Yep.
Which is further compounding the matter that Councillor Ring has brought up. We sit on an unenviable anniversary this year of this council being declared not fit for the future. Actually failed to meet 2 of the 3 critical criterias. We're on a pathway, I think, with a difficult size council with a large amount of assets to push forward to some sort of financial sustainability. I think we need to be very careful about how we spend even small amounts of money, given that we're going to ask all program areas to take some of their budget to stabilise our situation. Now, I'm a believer in a disciplined approach to our budgets. We need to make sure we live within our means. We need to resolve this financial point we're in, but we've got to keep in mind that we ran 10 operational deficits in a row. That's a significant under expenditure in assets. We've now got the first of the asset management plans. The pages are opening on them, and we're looking at $88 million as our base recovery point for the roads. When we open the book of the sewer and water, I don't expect they're going to be any more pleasant reading. So I think we need to show a great deal of discipline at the moment. And whilst we just collect 10, 20, 30, we've got to be in mind that there's some other things happening in the background. So at this stage, I'm a very strong supporter of community projects, but I think we need to resolve our financial position this year. If we need to defer it, the program for music into the next year, so be it. But we need to carefully consider our financial position at the moment. And we've come from a position where we did have high loans. We failed to meet the fit for the future criteria for 2 of the 3. We need to move carefully and cautiously through this process.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Any further debate on the amendment?
Yeah, speak against the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Tysus.
Mayor, we're talking about, we're broke. I mean, the $20,000 that you're talking about trying to bring in savings and all that sort of thing across the board, and then we're spending $567,351.86 in maintenance costs, depreciation rates and annual charges on the Lithgow Golf Club to maintain. We're maintaining a full 18-hole championship golf course at ratepayers' expense, and here we are whinging about a $20,000 for music in the community program that provides up to 30 events. 30 events. Now, that 20 grand has been put into a financial community grants thing where we've now used the remaining $20,000. So nothing is left for community grants. So you go in after the 1st of July with no money for any community group to come in and apply for any money whatsoever because you have no money left. Now, somewhere along the line, we're going to be saving some money out of $567,000 on the Lithgow golf course. It won't be $20,000. It'll be closer to $250,000 from where I sit and what the community will want. So you can't keep cover for the Lithgow Golf Club. The council can't support the golf course. It's, you know, you've got to cut it in half or do something, or wait for the offer from a business that wants to do the maintenance at half the price, at up to half the price. So don't, you know, if you're going to cut everything, you need to cut the golf course as well. But we need to tell the community what that figure is. They didn't know. They were surprised. They were shocked. They were horrified that we were spending $567,000 for people to play golf. It's in the maintenance budget. It can be separated and shown as a separate line item, which is what you've done in the annual report. You resolved to put it in the annual report and told everyone what it was. So are we not going to save any money there? Are we not going to save $20,000 on $567,000? You've got to be crazy. That's not going to work. This is going out on exhibition. The public need to know what you're going to spend on things. You're going to spend 20 on music in the park and all these other various, $15,000 for the Show Society, nearly $50,000 for the Portland Pool. They're all in the same thing as the music in the program. But I don't want to get the blame because I've used the last 20 grand on a project that I've been successful at putting the council. You've got nothing left for community groups out of $103,000. It's all gone. But you're going to advertise that. So you've got to put money back in there. 20 grand. 20 grand. And then here we are spending $567,000 and you don't want to tell the ratepayers. You must tell the ratepayers. You must put this out there and it must go in this framework that we're going to put out there. If you're going to be open and transparent, you need to declare what you're putting into the golf course and that you're going to put an extra 20 grand to make up that shortfall that you've taken away from every other community group. I won't be blamed for it. The council will be blamed for it. But we need a figure on the golf course. It's open, it's transparent. You must be doing that. Office of Local Government, State Government, they need to tell everyone what you're funding these groups for. End of story. That's why I'm against the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Tyson. Any further debate on the amendment? I'll put that. All those in favour of the amendment? All those against? The amendment has been carried. The amendment becomes the motion. All those in favour of the amendment? All those against? The motion's been carried. Thank you. Call the division. A division has been called. Please raise your hand in favour of the motion. Councillor Statham, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Ring, Councillor Smith, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Coleman. All those against? Councillor Evangelides, Councillor Fredericks and Councillor Tyson. The matter's been carried. Thank you. No, she was for. She pressed her hand, that's all. Where are we? My understanding is that we're up to 3.9. So that's tender Coldrew Drive reconstruction. Page 50. Is there any motions, councillors?
Happy to move it.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Moving the recommendation.
I've got a question.
Hang on, I need a seconder. Councillor Marnie. Councillor Ring.
No. Don't need to speak to it.
Councillor Marnie, you wish to speak? Any questions, was there somewhere? Councillor Tyson?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. What part of Coldrew Drive are we doing? Is it from the highway all the way down? Can I just get some direction? Does it go into past the retirement home?
Through you, Mayor Coleman, it goes all the way through to their property boundary. So that it doesn't all extend all the way through into the roundabout at the aged care facility. It's just outside it at their property boundary. So yes, it does extend past the medical facility.
It doesn't go past the intersection up towards the Three Tree Hill?
All of that is included too.
Sorry, Councillor Tyson, can you? I can't hear.
How far from the intersection?
From the intersection, I'd need to have a look. I've just measured it in square meters because that's what's most important to me for getting this contract out. So, but you'll note that when you drive past the the intersection of Coldrew Drive with the aged care facility, there's a joint in the asphalt there, and there's quite a discernible change in condition.
Yeah.
That's where we're stopping.
Yeah, but what about the other road up towards the three trees itself?
Yes, we're doing that as well. Only to their property boundary, though.
I'm just trying to understand why, because if nothing goes up there.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about the aged care facility. Sorry, no, we're not going up through the new subdivision. The new road is not being touched.
So it's from the highway and then turn left up towards the Treeville Estates.
Sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Thank you. Any further debate on this matter? No? All right. No need to write a reply? We'll put that. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you. 3.10, which is Property Acquisition Specialist Walgett Road Reconstruction Project, page 54. Any motions, councillors?
I'll move it.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please, on this matter? Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Ring?
No, the position's needed. Like a lot of people, I think it's a very large project. It appears to be top heavy with consultants, but we do need someone to deal with potential acquisitions moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Goodwin?
We just need to move this forward. I'm happy with that.
Thank you. Any further debate on this matter? Okay, no need to write a reply.
Put it.
All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. We're up to 3.11, which is the Main Street CBD Footpath Improvement Stage 2B Variation Request, page 60. Any motions, councillors?
I'll move it.
Okay, who's the second? Councillor Marnie? Oh, sorry, yep. Councillor Ring?
No, I'm happy with the report. Thank you.
Happy with the recommendation? Councillor Marnie, you're happy with the recommendation? Yes? No? Councillor Marnie, I didn't hear you, did you?
Apologies. Yes.
You're happy, okay. Is there any discussion, Councillor Ring? You've moved it?
No.
No, nothing from you, Councillor Marnie. If there's no opposition, no? I'll put it. All those in favour? Yes? All those against? Declare that carried. All right, we've done 4.1. We've done 4. We're up to 4.2.
Yep. I'd like to move that.
Hang on. Audit Risk Improvement Committee minutes, 26th of March, 2025, and a 4-year work plan, page 65. Councillor Ring, I'm guessing you want to do something here.
Yeah, I want to talk to it.
Yep. So you're moving it.
I'll need a seconder.
So can I have a seconder, Councillor Marnie? All right. Councillor Ring?
The Audit Risk and Improvement Committee is established in accordance with Section 428A of the Local Government Act. Its role is to provide independent advice to Council regarding the following aspects of Council's operations: compliance, risk management, fraud control, financial management, governance, implementation of the strategic plan, delivery program and strategies, service reviews, collection of performance measure data by the Council, internal audit and other relevant matters which may arise. There are only 4 meetings a year, but the meetings go for 3 hours or longer. They're quite intense. But I also wanted to talk about the role of the non-voting council rep. And the role of the council rep is to relay to the committee any concerns the governing body, that is the elected councillors, may have regarding the council and issues being considered by the committee. Provide insights into local issues and strategic priorities of the council that would add value to the committee's consideration of agenda items. Advise the governing body as necessary of the work of the committee and issues arising from it, and assist the governing body to review the performance of the committee. Now, what's really important is that the councillor rep must conduct themselves in a non-partisan and professional manner and must not attempt to politicise either the activities of the committee or the internal audit. If this is breached, then the chair can request the councillor be removed. It's got to go to council. August last year, when we lost the footpath grant, when it was reported to council. I moved that the matter be reviewed to the ARIC Committee for investigation. Now, the September meeting, I believe it was, which there was no councillors present because there were no councillors at that stage, wanted greater clarification. The first meeting of ARIC was in December 2024. Prior to that meeting, I'd done a full day's training in the role of an ARIC rep and what the ARIC committee does. I also attended online 2 days of a national conference on audit and the audit role in local government, which was really beneficial. At the December meeting, I asked for a bit more time to come back to the ARIC committee so I could actually get my thoughts in line with their role and legislative requirements. I tabled that information on the 26th of March, and it was resolved by the committee that the footpath project should be one of potentially 3 projects to review in terms of council's project management framework, and the work was to be included in the work program for the internal auditors who have been recently contracted. The internal auditors are not council staff, they're externally contracted to work for council. They are independent of council. ARIC will have oversight of this project, and once completed, it will report back to council. The committee also requested that an internal review of communications and the timeline be undertaken for the period May 2024 through to August 2024. This review will be undertaken by Vanessa Browning, I believe reported back at the May 2025 meeting. The internal audit is not a headhunting expedition to lay blame. It is about reviewing the internal processes that were in place during the past few years, the effectiveness of those processes, and what is being to prevent future issues. I'd just like to clarify that the project manager involved in the project left before it hit the fan, and the committee internal auditors will be looking at probably 2 or 3 projects and looking at the processes in place. So that is in hand. It's going to take some time, but it is an independent project. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Marnie?
I'm pleased that we're looking into asset management planning. Again, it's delayed delivery that should have happened around 2016-17. We're now getting reviews of that coming forward. That's going to be the big financial challenge in this term of council, is what do we do with backlog asset renewal? There will be some points that will go to Councillor Tice's interest in open space assets, as there's a group of them that council invests significant amounts of money. That'll come through some of that asset planning and service management framework. I'm pleased that we're starting to see systems like Pulse come in, so there's awareness of status of projects. I'm looking forward to seeing the grant register established so that we have clear visibility over that as well. This is a body of work that may not light any fires of interest in the community, but it's important governance and oversight work that's going on. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of the feedback coming back out of these processes.
Thank you. Any further debate on this matter? No further debate. I'll put that. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. We're now up to point 5, which is business of great urgency. Is there any? Councillor Fredericks and Councillor Statham?
I just wanted to know whereabouts we are with fixing the blast furnace lights and everything that got smashed up. It's been reported a couple of times on Facebook that there's still live wires and things like that. I just want to make sure it's all being taken care of.
We'll take that on notice. Yep. Councillor Statham?
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. I've had some people from Capity and Glen Alice put in some strong complaints about the state of the rubbish at Capity and Glen Alice. I've got a photograph here if you'd like to see it. it's pretty ordinary. I think there's been a lot of public holidays. Maybe we need to consider getting whatever we're getting now, get a third again. So however many ways to get rid of the garbage out there, whether they're skip bins or what they are, I don't know. But it's desperately urgent. The photograph tells the story.
We'll take that on notice, Councillor Statham. It's not classified as urgent, but we can take that on notice, and Mr. Trapp can be in contact with you if you like, Councillor Statham.
Yes, and another one for Mr. Trapp. I've also been asked by several Cullumbullin families, has there been trouble with the Cullumbullin sewage project?
That was actually raised at the recent infrastructure committee meeting, so that's been noted. But Mr. Trapp will
Can
give
I have
you
an answer, please, because the truck's going in there several times.
So we will get that was in the infrastructure committee, but we'll get Mr. Trapp just to quickly respond if you like. It's not urgent, but we'll make a response.
Well, they think it is. They think it's wasting a lot of council money.
We'll let them. Mr. Trapp can respond.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Coleman. So, yeah, we've had some issues with the Cullumbullin sewer plant, not with the operation, only with the regulatory side of it. We've been working with the EPA to try and get through some of the hurdles that we have to jump through for a licence to be able to discharge. One of those was an additional study that we had to complete that they've requested us to do as part of our licence application. We're now getting towards the end of that after a pretty long period of doing testing through the environment as well as on our sewage. Hopefully that'll be sorted out in the coming month to 2 months, depending on how quickly the EPA can turn it around. But yeah, the truck we've been operating the plant, treating the sewage, and then trucking it to Portland for further treatment because we can't discharge the waters.
Thank you. No business of further great urgency. The meeting's closed. 9:58 p.m. Thank you.